Hello everyone, welcome to episode 68 of FPL BlackBox. We are recording this with some matches still going on. It's always fun to get our kind of live reactions as things go. Mark, you're back in the driving seat, feeling all right? Oh, can't hear you, Mark.
There you go. The joke there. No, so that wasn't intentional actually. You've thrown the hosting over to me last minute because you're the latest of the BlackBox crew to get COVID. Only today you've tested, but it's crazy. It's me, Luke, now you in the last 2 weeks.
We're just spending too much time together, I think. That's the problem.
I don't know. I mean, you're feeling a bit grotty, so you passed the hosting duties over to me. I'm a bit ill prepared. That's why we're a little bit late, and some of the stuff is new to me, so bear with us tonight. But we're waffle on, and we're joined with Luke to help us, who's a master at that, aren't you, Luke?
Talking waffle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, glad to be here and bring the waffle.
Yeah, bring it indeed. And as do you want to start by, I mean, there's only one subject we can start on, and that's Bruno, and not the Bruno that I got, but the Bruno that you got. Incredible. What amazing turnout.
I think it's the best moment ever in FPL for me, really. I mean, it's just one of those moves where everything just comes together. You know, there was no real stand-up captain option in my team. I wanted to captain a double game week player. I was looking around. I saw people captaining Chris Wood and people captaining like Newcastle defenders, and I thought, let's just kind of roll the dice on it. And I'd been really impressed with him in the matches I'd seen. I got to admit, though, I wasn't expecting him. 2 goals and an assist over 2 matches? I wasn't expecting that. I thought maybe he could get like a goal
so far.
And he's got you an assist tonight. And the thing is, there was some reaction. You recorded the video, of course, of you celebrating and kissing his head and all this kind of nonsense. And it did kind of split the community between those who were chuffed for you and those who were like, "Oh, just shut up." Basically.
I think
do you know which camp I fell into?
I can guess which camp you fell into. Mark. No, I have to say the reaction's been amazing. Everyone's actually been really, really positive because it was probably I've never had more negativity going into a decision like that. Like I had so many people saying it was a stupid move. I was doing it for like the wrong reasons. You know, captaining a defensive midfielder and all of that. So I think quite a few people ate their words and they were happy to. So. Yeah. I was quite pleased with the reaction.
Well, Florence Sandu's in the chat saying, enough already with the Bruno stuff. Blind luck. Was it blind luck, Luke? What do you put it down to? Genius?
We have to celebrate is all I'm going to say. When someone brings in, this is what fantasy football's all about, isn't it? This is what they designed the game for. I know we play it in a very, very serious way. We're supposed to. And we're looking at algorithms and models and how best to do consistent over 10 years and look at Hall of Fame ranks. But at its core, the game is about bringing in someone on a whim and they absolutely smash it. So for whatever reasons, rationale, as put it out there, it doesn't matter to me. The fact that you brought him in and he smashed it is commendable. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At a time when the models are kind of making it not easy, but certainly helping a lot of people out there pick optimum teams and so on, the Bruno G selection is one of those examples of how you can get in quick and before the models even got there. Right? It's never going to have that.
You touched on it last week, right? That's the inability to. I mean, a lot of people quoting his stats at Lyon. He's in a completely different role in the team at Newcastle. And, you know, I spoke to Ed about it. I spoke to Neil at Scout, Newcastle fans who really know their stuff. And they're like, well, Shelvey's the DM. Shelvey's the holding midfielder. Yeah. He's given license to bomb him. So judging him against past performances and stats was kind of irrelevant, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll look at your team now. Let's bring it up. 85 points at the moment. I mean, I captured the screenshot about 10 minutes ago. And there is Bruno, your captain, on 36 points for you. Do you want to talk us through it then? It's 85 points. You're absolutely flying.
It's been a pretty bad couple of weeks as well. Like I fell from, I'm not trying to be smug. I was like 600 and I fell to like 3k or just outside the 3k mark.
3k? Oh, give up if I was you. What do you reckon, Luke? Why is he bothering?
But it's when you're kind of you're trying to push on and try and finish as highly as possible. When you suddenly have a few bad weeks, you start thinking all the wheels have come off. It kind of made me more determined, I think, to try and find someone. I was between him and Salah in the end, so either one would have been a fairly decent move. But yeah, Dubravka in goal, Trent, Robertson, Cancelo. I brought Cancelo in as part of the hit. Salah, Saka, Barnes. I can't believe he scored.
Well, hold on a minute. You even forgot you had Barnes in your team until. I mean, that's what it's come to, where you can't even remember your players. It's so easy.
Well, I did remember I had him in my team, but I didn't think he'd be in the Leicester team. I didn't even bother to check. He's missed so many games lately that I just thought he'd be out. So when he scored, I was like, oh yeah, I've got him. That's nice. Kulusevski, Bruno, obviously the big one, Kane. I bought in Che Adams, so I took out Lacazette finally. I took out Coutinho and I took out Doherty and bought in Cancelo, Ramirez and Adams. So yeah, Adams didn't start, but I'm expecting him to start against Burnley tomorrow. Broja wasn't that good in that game, so he should get me 2 points at least in that. The bench boost was on for me this week until Roberts got dropped and Amity and stuff, so couldn't do that, but yeah, delighted with the score.
Absolutely, and it's not over yet, of course. So I imagine you've got the Cancelo clean sheet to drop in. Let's see what else Bruno can bring you. Luke, we'll go to your team next because you were second in the pecking order so far, 63 points. But you've got to be pretty pleased that you've gone above me, up to 118k at the moment.
Light work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Come on, Midfield. You're not supposed to go ahead of him.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll get sacked soon. Yeah, no, it's I was obviously very, very 50-50 on whether I should free hit or not. I still think, forgetting the outcome, I probably should have done it. The thing that swayed me in the end was because I would have had Ronaldo captain, right? That's what I talked about. And right towards the end of sort of the models and the fact that we got the Leicester information about them going through, I was thinking, well, I can't really rely on their minutes. So when I was looking at the teams, it started to include Salah in it as well. So I think if I had done it in the end, I'd have had Ronaldo captain and I've had Salah in my team. And then, Newcastle are still currently clinging onto a clean sheet with 80 minutes. That's the other big part of the free hit, I think, that could determine how successful it was. Because most of the other stuff has failed, to be fair. But it's like I said before, the attrition of points, right? So I think if I had done it, it probably makes sense. Because my team is actually good for 36 and 37. I think I've got a lot of the players already that I think people will want. So I should have probably played it, but in the end I've got away with it. Salah smashed it. We all predicted it would be sort of a 3 or 4-0. Hoped he would be involved, and he's kind of saved my team because, as usual, the rest of them haven't done much.
Not everyone hoped he'd be involved.
No, absolutely.
That's true.
Foden's just scored for you as well, Luke. So there you go.
Has he? Oh, beautiful. He was my move in this week as well, so things are coming up Millhouse. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful as we get onto my disaster of a team. My word, 41 points at the moment. Of course, so what I did was Salah out to Bruno. I looked at it and thought the prospect of 4 matches for Bruno versus 2 for Salah, plus the prospect they might even get a rest against Everton. We'll see about that. But I thought 4 matches of Bruno against 2 of Salah, even the fact that those 2 players have obviously a couple of seasons back, two matches of Bruno would have matched 2 matches of Salah. These days, not even I expect 4 matches from Bruno will do it, given the gap between Liverpool and Manchester United, and I guess arguably the gap between those 2 players now as Bruno gone off the boil. So it was a disastrous outcome for me that Salah delivered like he did. It was his first goal in 12 matches, I think it was, from open play. His first open play goal since Norwich in game week 26. His biggest haul since game week 13. So it was a big outcome for Salah. So I have to suck it up, don't I, and hope Bruno can get me something in the double that's coming. So that was one transfer. The other one was Cancelo in, which I think that's a fair enough move because I think he's nailed for the rest of the season now, given the suspension in Europe, and also I think Ake's got a knock tonight, hasn't he, Luke? So he's gone off as well.
He went off at half time, and they brought Diaz on. Apparently, he limped off the pitch a bit, so don't know how bad it is, obviously, but it's another person who can play at fullback that's down. So yeah.
So my team is Pope with the 3 points, Trent and Robertson 6 each, Fabian Schär with 3, currently keeping a clean sheet, is he tonight as well? Cancelo as well should be a clean sheet hopefully, and then Bruno with the 6 points, Saka with 3, Kulusevski with 2, Kane with 2. Vegor scored though. Miracles do happen with the 8, and he's got Southampton tomorrow.
1, 2, 2.
I know, 8 doesn't work, does it? And then Bro coming in with a point. So I've still got some players to come, but I only lost 13k in rank actually. So it's surprising, isn't it? The Salah haul. But I guess what happened there was the free hit, because a lot of free hit managers obviously took him out. And I've got to say, I did a call, a stream with Joe, and I was all set to free hit until I changed my mind the morning basically and said, no, I'm not going to free hit now. I'll just go the transfers, and then I'll get Bruno in. So I've got him for 34 for the doubles then as well. 35 or no 34 is right. But I don't know. Had I free hit, I would have taken Salah out. I definitely would have taken Salah out.
Yeah, and you would have been on Bruno captain as well, wouldn't you? From what I saw.
Yeah, I would have been. So I don't think too much had changed really. I can't look it back and think I would have had Ronaldo. I don't know actually. I might have kept him Ronaldo. It was close. I can't really say for sure where I'd gone. So I'd have had Ronaldo's points, and I may have had him captain, but I wouldn't have had Salah. I think most of those who free hit probably took Salah out.
He was 50-50. He was completely 50-50 down there. There's I think a Ragaboli's free hit thing had him I think he was 45% owned in free hit teams.
Yeah.
Salah.
Well, this is the thing. Of the free hit teams, there's probably Cancelo, would you say, Salah, Kane and Son are probably the four main ones that people might have included in their free hit. So at the moment, obviously Salah went massive. The other two absolutely failed, and Cancelo's on course. But I wish you wouldn't keep saying it's a clean sheet because there's still 21 minutes to go, Mark. But I don't think Brighton have had a shot yet, so it's looking good.
Yeah.
But it's the other stuff, isn't it? Shah's on 10 points at the moment. Again, it's just that attrition of points, isn't it? He's probably on for bonus. So as long as he can keep that, these guys have beaten most of the other ones. But the Liverpool clean sheet would have helped. I mean, I've got the double, haven't I? So I think in the end, it's relatively close, but it just shows you that even when the free hit sort of failed so far, anyway, I think overall for most of the players, it's still probably outscored most of the
Well,
other
if you had Ronaldo captain and Salah on a free hit, you were
absolutely fine.
Exactly. And as ever, usually it just comes down to, regardless of whether you've used a chip or whatever, there's going to be 2 or 3 names in the game week, and if you were on them in some shape or form, whether you put a captain's armband them or not, and it makes the difference, doesn't it? It's every time you look at your team, 11 players think it's a great team this week, it's going to smash it, and it's only ever down to about 2 or 3 that actually usually go pretty well. In my case, they don't usually even go big, but for some people, they get 2 or 3 returns, such as Bruno Goalkeepers.
Yeah, well, it just so happens that, looking ahead to what we're going to cover in the show, I probably am going to free hit into this coming game week now with the Chelsea United double. So we're going to look at Chelsea assets in particular tonight, and looking at Timo Werner, who's a poster boy for the episode because he scored tonight and he's definitely on the up. So we're going to analyse him a bit deeper. Talk about Chelsea assets in general across the board, across the positions. I've got a free hit team which I've mocked up, which I'll show. Also, I'm conscious that people are going to be wildcarding into 34, ready for the bench boost in 36. I'm presuming you've kept the wildcard with the 36 bench boost in mind. So we've got a couple of wildcard teams to show and review in the episode as well. So hopefully that will help a few people out. But other than that, it's the general data and general waffle, as I said at the top of the show.
My favourite.
Let's look at the great and the good briefly, because this caused a lot of controversy in the week, didn't it? What did Greyhead do? Put a list up and it all went mad, didn't it? It's not even the international break.
Yeah, it was just standard Twitter. I think people are forgetting that this list is like Greyhead's list of people that he quite likes and probably interacts with, and then a couple of celebrities like Magnus Carlsen and stuff, and he can put who he wants on it. But yeah, some of the outcry was, it's a clique, it's elitist, it's all this kind of stuff. It gets a bit ridiculous.
It's got to be people that don't mind having the piss taken out of a weekly in not only this, but also in particular Greyhead's article on Scout. So I guess he has to be careful who he includes, because not everyone might be up for that. So it's tricky. And I'm probably not going to be in it next season the way it's going, because I'm bottom as it stands. I am. I'm actually gone below Les Cornwall now, who has been hacked. So, how bad does it get? With a rank of 159k, I must say I'm only below him because isn't Greyhead doing some kind of weird algorithm to work out? Right, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But it sounds a lot better.
So don't laugh too much, Luke. Yeah.
Well, if you want a real laugh, I think Andy got hacked last season. I think he beat me. That was a genuine one. So
there you go.
Yeah, here I am, meet Shield again.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
Back. He's back.
I'm bottom, 159k in the world, and bottom of that. I don't know if I'll go up a bit tonight. We'll see. Joe's next in line, but you're right at the top. Got ahead of Fabio again.
We're having a proper battle, aren't we? He caught up 50 points. Now I'm sort of 10 points ahead of him. Bit more after today because he captained Saka, which was interesting. There's a good split of captains in the Great and Good this week. We had like Fernandes, Martinelli, a Wood, a Ronaldo, a couple of Sakas. Yeah, it was a bit of a split.
Like that.
Me too. That's why I really like this week. That's why weeks like this are my favourite week, because it's not just everyone on Salah, everyone on Kane. You can kind of roll the dice a little bit on a bit of a punt. They're the best weeks, mate.
I haven't seen a week with the varied captains like that for ages, actually. It shows that across the board. So Yeah, it makes it far more interesting. That's when the Bruno G stuff starts coming in. We're going to look at the latest and Ben Crellin, because obviously from the FA Cup results, it meant that the 34 double was confirmed. We knew that if Chelsea beat Palace, it would drop in, but obviously we didn't know the result. But we kind of preempted.
Have we ever had a situation like that before?
No, I don't think so.
It's weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
We already have it this season a couple of times where they've released fixtures with like asterisks saying if this happens, then. But it's more to do with. Yeah, I swear we've had it this season, haven't we? Not quite as specific as one game will go to either this week or this week, but it's been asterisks a lot of the fixtures, haven't they? That they might move depending on certain things, I think.
I don't think we've had a double like the next week.
No,
if a team.
not.
Because they actually had to move a game, didn't they? Like backwards. The United game actually got moved out of 37. Into
Just hearing them confirm that it would definitely happen, because I know the guys do a lot of work in the community trying to predict where it goes. But hearing it from the horse's mouth saying, if they win, it will go into 34. Suddenly, it does make a lot of people look at Man United, because they'd have a double-double, wouldn't they? And also about using the free hit, you lose that transfer, like we said about. So for me, for example, going into this week, I've only got at the moment one Chelsea and no Man United. So I've got one from a possible 6 doublers. I used my transfer on Foden, but other people might be in a situation where they could have used that information to then go, right, I am going to take a hit for Ronaldo or Bruno, or look at Chelsea straight away or whatever. So it was a little bit. We already kind of knew it, but it helps us, didn't it? I think a little bit.
Yeah, you could take that information and sell Salah, who's the best player in the game, and get Bruno in, because which is exactly what happened. Right, the fact that I thought, and rightly, that United would get the double in 34 convinced me to not free hit, but to use my transfer to bring Bruno in for the potential of 4 games and get rid of Salah. And the reason behind it was not only to get Bruno for the 4 games, and obviously one of those was Norwich, it was to give me a captain, but it was also the fact that I look at the rest of the season and thought, well, I'm not going to captain Salah now for the rest of the season, because I need to try and mix it up with the captaincy. So if I'm not going to captain Salah, and I can get Bruno now with 4 games versus 2, let's do it, right? So it kind of did nudge me into it. Had we not known that United could get a double in 34, had it just been speculation, I doubt I would have done it. So it did make a difference to me, and probably others.
Still
right?
could work though. Still could work, right?
Yeah, Bruno could go absolutely mad. But I think, as we're going to see later tonight, he's
he was poor.
The performances, he was playing the more withdrawn role in both games, and that has really.
There's a lot of unfortunate stuff, wasn't there? Obviously, the Ronaldo news absolutely horrific. It's just
the thing was, United against Norwich actually looked all right, I thought, from an attacking sense.
It's a good fixture, isn't it?
Defensively, they were all over the place, but they had some good attacking moves between Lingard and Ilanga, and obviously Ronaldo scored some great goals. But Fernandes just wasn't involved in any of it, and
he played a bit of a deeper role, didn't he, in that game? I think. Yeah, I mean,
that's where you worry.
Really unfortunate. How could anyone predict that Bruno would pretty much end up as a defensive midfielder in both the games? I mean, it wasn't quite like that. He changed around, but it's really unfortunate. You can't do anything about that. But home to Norwich, you'd expect Man United to score 2 or 3 goals, and it just happened to all go to one player.
Yeah. Well, it did tip me over the edge. We're going to look at Bruno's data and how he's plummeted later on in a bit. But I just want to touch on something about the way the fixtures turn out now for the big 3. And the big 3, I'm now counting Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea. Chelsea in there by default, I guess. Man United not in the big 3. But I'm talking about the teams that are probably going to influence our kind of wildcards and our free hits now to the end of the season. In particular, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, but also thrown in Leicester in there as well, because rotation plays a part in their team sheets. And just something I want to talk about in particular is Liverpool, because one of the reasons why I did sell Salah is because I did think that Salah, regardless of form, will get rested along with Mane and Diaz for one of the games coming up. Right? I kind of look at it and think, well, he's surely going to use Jota and Firmino to rest those 3, because it does look, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong or you don't believe this, that Diaz on the right, Diaz on the left, Salah on the right and Mane down the middle is his first choice now, it looks at. Do you believe that as well, Luke?
I think at the moment it's looking very much like that, isn't it? Mane down the middle's working very well.
It's
Salah's
the strongest
basically
3.
immovable on that side, and Diaz has been utterly ridiculous since he came in. So I wouldn't be surprised if he uses it. I mean, a lot of these managers will change the tactical setup. He might need a Firmino for a drop in for one game or whatever, but at the moment it does look like that is the preferred choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at it and think Jota's going to be used.
Saka's got a penalty, by the way.
Oh, has he?
He scored it.
I think that my view is that Jota's going to be used alternate to rest Mane, Diaz and Salah once each. perhaps, right? Because, I mean, I look at it and think Liverpool have got Everton this week, at the weekend, then Villarreal, Newcastle and Villarreal in the away leg. That is 4 games in the space of, 12 days, I think it is? Let me just check that. So 4 games in 10 days, basically, they've got. So surely there's a rest match somewhere. It could be Everton this weekend or it could be Newcastle. Now, if
For
you look,
Salah, you think? Is that what you're saying?
well, yeah, Salah, Mane or Diaz, what they're going to get rested alternatively. I think each of those 3 will miss 1 league game, I would have thought.
I don't know about Salah. I don't know about him. I think Salah. It's optimistic in Salah's case because he's pretty much the only one who plays on that right side, isn't it? I know Mane has occasionally been used there, but I don't think it's worked particularly well. But if any game it's going to happen, I would have thought it would be Everton. But then I don't know. I just think
He's rested against Everton before.
Yeah,
he has. I think it would be more
changes.
They would bring him off early rather than they would rest him. I think Klopp has mentioned in the past this whole traffic light thing, hasn't he? Where the physios will say he's getting into the red zone, whatever that means. So you might want to give him a rest. I personally just can't see it. I think at the moment Jota, Mane, Firmino, all those guys on that side, they will play sort of in the centre or on the left-hand side, and Salah's kind of got a monopoly on there. I don't doubt he can come off early versus Everton, and he might be rested, but I think it's more likely he plays, to be honest.
I think what Klopp will probably do is hope to win the first leg against Villarreal by a big enough margin where he can rest him in the away leg, which is what he did previous round, right? And then if they don't win the home leg handsomely, he can then look at possibly resting him for Newcastle away, which is a tough game, but he could, right? So he could rest in there. As you refer to 2019-20, when Liverpool beat Everton 5-2, Klopp was without Alisson and Fabinho in that game, but still started Shaqiri, Lallana and Origi and rested Henderson, Firmino and Salah to the bench. And Salah didn't even get on in that game and they won 5-2. So he has got a past record for resting players at home to Everton. I mean, that was only game week 16, though, so it was early in the season, whereas obviously now it's a different scenario, although Everton arguably are a much weaker team than they were then, right? So it could be, but my theory is that he'll probably try and rest players in the second leg against Villarreal, so we'll want to see how the first leg turns out.
Dangerous, though, this far into the competition, though, isn't it? I know even though Villarreal have...
It is.
Yeah. I mean, I don't particularly rate them looking on their players' individual base. I can't pretend that I watch them to know any different, but when you look at the players that they've got, they don't scream amazing. So yeah, they could spank them, but it is very dangerous, I think, to try and rest. But they obviously did it in the last round, didn't they? And that's the thing. I think he rested him in the previous game, didn't he? And he still brought him on in that game. That just makes me think that Salah's just.
I'm leaning with Luke. I think Salah plays every.
So
every
Salah
game.
Plays 4 games in 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, early sub if need be, if they're spanking anyone.
But
if he's going to miss a game, it's going to be Everton. But I think he plays.
He could do, but I don't think we can necessarily preempt it.
So does Jota not get an appearance in any of those 4 games, or who does he come in for?
I think he will. I think he will. I think Mane and Diaz will both continue to miss him and rotate with Jota as the main one. I don't think Firmino's even in the picture at the moment. He's
got
5th choice, isn't he? Yeah. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, I think the only problem is that he has got Firmino and Jota, who are players that he knows can drop in and be effective. So it's not like he's bringing in a Shaqiri or an Origi, which is what he did in the past.
Well, and this is what we've got to look forward to next season, isn't it?
Do you think someone listening to this will be able to spot who doesn't own Salah and who does?
No, I'm talking about Jota in the main, because I look at it and think, is Jota an option? Is Jota because surely Jota's going to get some of these games. It's just
I'd imagine he'd play this one versus Everton, and I would have thought so.
Yeah,
because he'll save it for the Champions League.
It's just so hard to predict. It's same with Man City as well, isn't it? Like you go for a Mahrez like in that blank and he doesn't show up, but you think he's definitely going to play because he was benched in the last game and scored a penalty and looked good. It's just classic. I find it too frustrating to even try and second guess these players. And when it's a player like Salah, who is the key cog of the best team in the league, pretty much. If he rests him and it backfires,
it arguably in recent games, Mane and Diaz has been as good as Salah, if not better, in terms of their effectiveness to Klopp. Would you not say? Would you not agree? I mean, obviously, we're just coming off the back of him getting... But Diaz and Mane also got a goal and assist each in that game.
Well, Mane and Jota's non-penalty XG is right up there alongside Salah, and it has been all season. So I don't think that anything changes there. That's always been the case. And Mane's arguably looking even better now he's playing as 9. I'd agree with that.
Yeah, he does.
But the bottom line is Salah's the most nailed, and he's got the penalties.
Yeah.
And that's what you're paying
Oh,
for.
yeah. I think he is the most nails because of that right side position. I think that's the difference between Mane, Diaz, is that Jota can come in and go either side, right? Whereas you're right, there isn't really
there's an
life
argument if you were going to be different is to try and get multiple of them, isn't there? But I personally wouldn't want to spend that much money on.
I just don't know why you need to when you've got Trent and Robertson who offer you so much going forward. I think the key thing for me is
to be different, basically.
Yeah, but the key thing for me is if Klopp decides to rest one of Diaz, Mane, or Salah against Everton, who does he get the most stick for if they lose that game? It's just if he rests Salah. Salah is the key man.
Yeah,
he still is. Yeah. So I personally don't think he does.
So do you think it's only going to be Mane and Diaz who will miss a game between now and the end of the season? Salah will play every single game.
Yeah, I think so.
Quite possibly, yeah. Maybe some early subs.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's bring up Liverpool's attacking options because I haven't got Salah, so I've got to either not get a Liverpool attacker or tail between my legs, go back to Salah, which I'm not going to do. I mean, I'm not going to get Salah back because I'm going to captain other players, and I think if you're going to captain other players, I might as well roll the dice. I have got Robertson and Trent, so I'm looking at one of the other three, Mane, Jota or Diaz, and it's probably going to be Jota that I go for on the free hit, and then I try and make up my mind based on the rotation. But you're saying that Salah's going to play every game, and it's going to be Mane and Diaz who rotate. Right?
Yeah, but I think in your position, Mark, what you could go for whoever you want from there. Mane's and Jota are both equally very good, aren't they? But then just captain Trent. You don't have to therefore then put the captain on.
No, I won't. No,
because you don't know the minutes, right, and the subs, and they could not play. Whereas with Trent, he's arguably close to Salah most weeks anyway. So I think if you were going to do that, it just means you'd be captaining Trent over Salah, which for a lot of the season wouldn't have been necessarily a bad thing.
But look at this data. I mean, like you look at Salah over the season, and even Salah over the last 6, in which he was meant to be out of form. And he still shows up the strongest for stats like minutes per shot in the box, minutes per chance created, compared to Mane, compared to Jota, compared to Diaz. It's really only minutes per points that Jota comes out on top over the last 6. He comes out for minutes per big chance, 68 minutes compared to Salah's 106. So he beats him for that. I mean, Salah, although he hasn't delivered a huge amount of output in the last 6 or 7 game weeks, his data, like you said a few weeks back, Luke, has been strong and remains strong, right?
I mean, he's played Man City since that turning point. He's played Man City and Man United, and yes, I know Man United aren't quite the force they were, and he's delivered points straight away. And even if he hadn't, I'd still be saying the same because the data's good, and he's the best player in the game. It hasn't changed. I can completely understand it, like I said before, because there are doubles, which is probably that. Or if you're trying to, be different to climb rank, look at a different angle, absolutely. But it's still the best play to have Salah. Like, I don't have any doubt about that. But the best play doesn't necessarily always get the most points. You've got 5 or 6 weeks left, and how much variance can there be in 5 or 6 weeks? So, if you're in our position, Mark, and you want to try something different, then,
Yeah, my take is I'm probably going to go to Son on KDB to replace him in his slot, right? That's what I'll do. I'll move Bruno to Son or
and that
KDB.
Could well. I mean, if you get a KDB haul on a specific week, you catch a lot of it.
But
back,
I think if you're chasing and really have to take risks, would you go without Salah now, off the back of the data?
I think
in
he's the best
weeks,
captain in virtually every week left in the calendar, isn't he?
Yeah,
arguably this week.
Worth mentioning on this table that it's the last 6 on the bottom and it's all games on the top, just for anyone wondering.
That's right. But also what's interesting, you look at Salah's season compared to his last 3, this doesn't include his 17-18 season where it's 32 goals, which is incredible. It reflects his last 3 seasons compared to this. His data for this season is stronger in all areas compared to his last 3 seasons. So again, it's like, he's been off, in terms of FPL output, he's been off form, but he hasn't been in terms of the data. The underlying stats show this here.
You must have loved putting this together, Mark.
I must have been what? Sorry, yeah?
I said you must have loved putting this together, these slides.
Well, it didn't. I mean, I didn't get rid of Salah because I thought he was off form. I got rid of Salah because I think, well, I've got to captain somebody else for the run in if I'm going to try and catch any kind of rank. Right. So I've got to do something different, which is why I got rid. And obviously the Bruno 4 matches. Right.
I would even say though, if you just used, going on the old eye test, if we extend our memory a little bit to the beginning of the season and the first half of it, I think most people watching Salah would say it's probably the best he's ever looked in his career. He was looking even better than when he first joined, and he scored 32 goals. I think a lot of those were, he was more of a goal scorer, and he obviously got a little bit lucky to get that high. But in terms of just his all-round play, creativity, everything, assists, he's
a complete player. He's a complete player.
Do you think anything's changed with Diaz coming in? Do you think that's had anything to do with his output dropping?
No, I wouldn't say so. I just think it's bad luck. Sometimes it goes in, sometimes it doesn't. Diaz is great. I mean, you can only score so many goals, so maybe could you argue, does he take a % away from him? But I'm not sure I buy into that theory, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's so minutes per XGI non-penalty, 105.2 compared to 116.8 last season, 110.9 the season before that, 113.7. So that's the key stat here. But he's stronger this season compared to the last three for everything: minutes per touch in the box, minutes per shot in the box, minutes per chance. Everything is there to back up the fact that if you didn't make a fool of yourself like I did, please don't consider it going forward, because unless you're really, really chasing, I think a huge amount of this is just not worth it. Let's look at some team data then, with Chelsea and Man United in mind for the double, and also West Ham are Chelsea's opponents, of course, in the double, in one of those fixtures. So looking at defence first of all, very little has changed here. City are top for the season and top over the last 6 game weeks, despite having the ranking 13th on the fixture difficulty, and Liverpool second over the last 6, with Chelsea third. But the Chelsea defence tonight really not showing up at all well. I mean, what's the current scoreline against Arsenal?
It's finished now. It finished 4-2, but
4-2.
They played Saar at left centre back instead of Rudiger, who's had a knock.
Right.
They had Christensen at right centre back, who I mean, he literally gave away a goal. He just did a pass back that obviously that can happen on any given week. Saar was pretty awful. From the goals I saw, there was a lot of deflections. So yeah, I haven't looked at the XG from the game or anything, but Chelsea have been prone to do this. And I think you take out Rudiger, Silva, Kovacic, they didn't have Havertz playing. And Arsenal's data has been good as well. Don't get me wrong, they did fine, but I don't think.
I never gave them a chance in this game, Arsenal. I thought we all had 2-3
every week. Put it that way.
I think
they need Rudiger back though.
I think I predicted a 2-1 win for Arsenal.
I think you did.
I got that was all right. There you go.
I think you did.
I think the important thing for Chelsea is we go back to the fixtures and looking at the chance of rotation. You got to remember Chelsea. I guess they haven't sealed third place, but I think they're safe for top 4. Maybe not after tonight. Maybe they'll be more nervous now. But I think the problem is they've got the FA Cup final in 37, which means one of their doubles away at Leeds. We've got to expect rotation on the level which we saw tonight, right? So quite a lot of rotation at the back. Do we think there's genuinely a player on offer at Chelsea in defence or anywhere else that offers us the double in 34 and also has a good chance of doubling in 36? Is there anyone?
I think there probably is, but I think Alonso is a standout still, just because they don't really have anyone else. Unless they want to play a back 4, and they've tried Saul there, haven't they? And it just hasn't really worked. They don't really have anyone else who can play left wing back. So I think he's got a chance. Obviously, Rudiger, if he's back fit, has got a chance, right? After tonight missing him, unless they're basically throwing the game away, it looks like they're going to have to play him. And then you've got Mendy. I think they're the only ones you could say for sure. The fact that James can play 2 positions gives him a chance as well to me. I know people therefore think he's going to get rested, but during this game, they switched him to right wing back, and instantly he looked ridiculously threatening again. Loads of really good crosses. If you get that, the bottom line is if you get him 1 game as right wing back in the double, you're probably odds on. I know it doesn't seem that way with him because he keeps churning out these zeros, and negatives even. You just need that 1 game, right? And that's what these players are about. So I'd still be willing to chance him. From the defence, this is anyway. I don't think you can trust anyone else, can you? And some of those are probably a little bit optimistic.
In 28, when Chelsea doubled, Rudiger missed out. James obviously got the knock. Chalobah and Thiago Silva played both games.
Yeah.
But that was it. The rest, Alonso didn't play either because he was so out of favour. But the fact Rudiger did get benched in that shows that he's not completely immune like everyone seemed to think he is. And going into an FA Cup
contract thing.
If Rudiger's out of the FA Cup final for whatever reason, Chelsea are buggered. They've got no chance. They need him. He's their best defender by such a large margin.
You've got to think that they'd seal top 4 if they arguably have already, but they probably mathematically haven't. That Leeds game, there's got to be significant rotation in that Leeds game because they kind of think that Liverpool won't rest that many players because they've still got City to catch, whereas Chelsea can have that luxury of going to Leeds and making some changes. And that might give them advantages in the cup final. Obviously, it's the one trophy they can win, Liverpool chasing 4. So I think this is the reason why I'm looking at the free hit this week, because I think that I want to maximise the Chelsea coverage for 34, because I think although the fixtures are tougher, I think that's the best chance of getting players who play twice.
So do I.
Whereas in 36, if I don't free hit this week and I use transfers to get Chelsea players in, I think I've got a job on to catch any of those players who are going to play twice for 36. I think
you can just ignore them though in 36, don't you? There's
You
enough
could.
doubles where you don't need to go there, so there is that. You know, if you're convinced they only play one, then you don't need to get them, do you?
yeah,
But it's sorry.
no, but I think managers are looking at 34 going, right, I'm going to get Chelsea in because they also double in 36. But you've got to not think like that, I think.
No, I
Because
suppose, but
I like
again,
the free hit for this because of the Chelsea assets and the fact if they win their game in hand, they're 8 points ahead of Tottenham and Arsenal. So that is pretty much it. And, you know, there's only 3 good teams in the league. Spurs sometimes, Arsenal sometimes. And I know Chelsea have lost tonight, but Chelsea, generally looking at the stats, looking at the players, looking at the team in general, they are one of those top 3 teams. And I think their double is so nice. And having no players in my side from Chelsea at the moment worries me, which the free hit covers.
Luke, sorry, you were going to say?
No, I was just saying again, it's kind of maybe just because you come from the Sky side, it's looking at it as a block as well, and just thinking, well, Chelsea have got good games from now to the end of the season, so even if they do miss one of the games in the double, it's not the end of the world, and a lot of people, whether they're on free hit or not, will also have a lot of Chelsea players. You know, they're still going to chance them. As much as we say someone might get rotated, you can bet your life they're still going to pick them, aren't they? Because they're just going to hope, because you could get lucky in it, and that's what you're doing. You're putting yourself in a position to potentially get lucky. You know, if they play one, so what? Most of the other teams will play one. It's not that's the way I look at that anyway. This is why I played my bench boost when you did, because I thought that I would have more chance of actually getting 15 players to actually play twice, and they did. They were mostly terrible, but they did play. And I always thought when it gets towards the back end of the season, when we don't know what teams are playing for, what cups they're in, Champions League, FA Cup, it's going to be harder to make, you know, you get players playing twice. And that was part of the rationale for doing it. But, you know, it still applies if you're going to get a free hit. So
I just think people will be aware. I mean, I think people will consider getting Chelsea players in for a hit because they look at it and think, well, I'm going to get the points back because not only double in 34, they double in 36. So I think the message here is just be very wary of that Leeds game because I think it's going to be very difficult to predict the Chelsea lineup there. And even players like Rudiger, Mount, who we think are probably the 2 most unsexy, most nailed on picks, they're probably unlikely to play that Leeds game, in my opinion, if Chelsea have wrapped up top 4, because that's their best chance of beating Liverpool is to rest key players when Liverpool can't, I think. So
Yeah, so 3 on the free hit and then 1 in the 36 double. It seems to me, I agree, that seems to me the best way of doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's tipped me to the point of going, well, I want a free hit this week because I want to maximise what I think is an easier double to hit 3 Chelsea players who play free twice, whereas in 36 it looks harder to do. More on the team data. I mean, just look at the United defence over the last 6. It's dropped to 13th for minutes per XG, conceded non-penalty. They have had the tough fixtures, 19th on the ticker, but as we saw, against Liverpool and even against Norwich, they are there to be exposed by teams, aren't they? And that is significant going into this double because obviously they are Chelsea's opponent, right? So we've got to think that it's an opportunity for the Chelsea attack to expose them. They've actually got United and West Ham, which if you look at the last 6 data, those defences aren't impressing, are they?
No, they're really not. And again, it's why we look at the double because United. It was funny listening to all the commentary after the match yesterday. Everyone saying, oh, do you just want this season to end? I think they asked Fernandes, do you just want this season to end now?
He was never going to say that, was he?
I know, but the fact that it's like, well, no, because they're still fighting for top 4. Like, they're still in the top 4. It feels like they're like a mid-table on the beach team, as Luke likes to call them, but they're not. They're still a team in the fight, in theory, for this top 4 spot, but they're not playing like it because they're absolutely awful in defence, and some of the defending against Liverpool and against Norwich was just an absolute joke. And I think it was Houghton on Match Today he was doing the analysis of United, and he was basically just saying, on the ball, they're a fantastic team to watch. They've got good. I mean, they didn't show it against Liverpool. They did against Norwich. Good passing movement, quick, speedy play, all of that. Off the ball, it's like they don't know their jobs. They don't know where to go, where to run. They don't get into a good shape, and good teams will pick them off. And Chelsea are a top team, so I'm expecting Chelsea to win that game against United. And then I look at West Ham. And they're struggling in the Premier League so much at the moment, scraping a 1-1 draw with Burnley, getting beaten by teams like Brentford. You look at this defensive data. Okay, they've had tough fixtures, but 17th? This is a top 6, top 7 side. And they've been like this consistently for quite a while.
Then they've got Europe on their minds, right? So,
absolutely. Yep. Playing great in Europe.
If you look at
a great double for Chelsea.
Yeah, if you look at the minutes per big chance conceded, United have conceded a big chance every 36 minutes over the last 6 game weeks. That's the same as Norwich, only Southampton is worse on 23.5. So, comparing United defence for terms of big chances conceded as bad as Norwich over the last 6 game weeks. Yeah, you've got to back. And considering Chelsea lost tonight, so there's more onus on them winning those next 2 games to make sure they can rest players against Leeds. It's a good double, I think, with West Ham United looking at this defensive data.
Yeah. Well, I said to you yesterday, didn't I? I think you sent me a picture of a free hit and it had Havertz in it, and I was like, surely Mount was over Havertz. But based on what's happened tonight, with Havertz missing out and coming on, and surely Havertz plays both of those now, and he looks to stand out, probably the standout captaincy pick, I'd say. But there's a lot of good options, like we're going to talk about a bit later on.
Yeah,
loads to.
When we get to player data, we'll check in on the Chelsea options in particular. Attacking data, just briefly, and again, this highlights Chelsea before tonight. It doesn't include tonight's data, but over the last 6 matches in that lower table, they have had the second best fixtures, but they were ranked second for minutes per XG non-penalty behind Man City, 42.8, Man City on 39.7. So Chelsea's attack went into tonight's in good form. And again, it underlines why perhaps this game week double with West Ham United, given the defensive data on show, could be strong for them. And the flip side of that is United attack is right down there in 18th position. They've had the 19th best fixture, so they've had poor fixtures, but it's 102.3 minutes per XG non-penalty. Could be without Ronaldo as well, given the tragedy that's happened off pitch. So you look at Chelsea and think, well, if you go all in with 2 defenders or 1 defender and 2 attackers, you've got a chance of returns from both your defence and attack, given that United's data doesn't look strong here. And they looked pretty clueless against Liverpool, didn't they? I mean, yes, they breached Norwich 3 times with Ronaldo. Will they have Ronaldo in this double? It's debatable. Without him, they look absolutely toothless, don't they, Luke?
Well, it's losing Fred and McTominay. I mean, we can barely pass as
McFred.
it is. If we're going to lose McFred, I mean, we just got no chance. I don't know whether Pogba, people saying he just didn't fancy it and looked after 9 minutes, realised what was up and went off. Who knows?
It's a good narrative, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Looked it to me, to be fair.
I mean, who knows? He could have legitimately been injured, but either way, I wouldn't have blamed him for wanting to get off the pitch, because it's just shocking. And even if we've got Fred and McTominay, it's not exactly top tier, is it? So, yeah, I don't think you can judge that game versus Liverpool. We knew before we went into the game, and we didn't even know the problems they would have, and we still predicted that they'd get spanked. That's the thing. That's probably out of all the derbies I can think of, even in recent times, everyone knew what the game was going to be like, that game. And it was just clear that was going to be the case. Can they bounce back and perform? Well, they could do if they get some of their players back, and it's only one game of football, so it could happen. But it's unlikely,
I thought they had a couple of moments against Liverpool at the start of the second half. They had I think, or just before that, Rashford was through and took a heavy touch.
Well,
Sancho came on and made a difference, and they were getting the ball over the top.
Not starting Sancho was, I don't really understand.
Well,
I think
Phil Jones had to play, didn't he? So,
well, I think he just wanted to stay in the game, didn't he, and then bring on Sancho to impact it at the end. But obviously, they were never in the game. I'm slagging Man United off, but they are still top 6 for the attacking data across the season, so they are still a decent attack once they've got all their players there and they're fit and available. But this is the thing about short-term stuff and tactical stuff. If they're going to rock up with a back 5 and no midfield, then obviously that's going to have a massive effect, isn't it? And let's not forget, you're playing arguably the best team in Europe, so there's no surprise there. Can they perform better this week? Yeah, I mean, they've got a double, and that's sometimes all you need is to have those players just pick up those. I keep saying it, the appearance to turn up twice. Sometimes it actually works. It's very unfortunate that they had what happened to Ronaldo, and Bruno had to play where he had to do and other stuff. It could be slightly different.
I don't see any. I mean, I'm going to keep Bruno and I'm going to play him, but I don't see any of the recruitment this week going towards United. It's all going to be Chelsea.
I think you've only got one free transfer, haven't you? Unless you're a madman like me, so it's going to be a Chelsea pick, isn't it? For nearly everyone that's, if you're not on free hit, virtually everyone's transfer this week is probably a Chelsea player in some shape or form.
But even on a free hit, I'm debating whether to just have one United player.
Really?
We'll have a look. We'll have a look at my team in a minute. Okay, let's go to player data. Let's start looking at keepers and the double game week players. And it's interesting. Every time we have a double game week and we look at keepers, the options are always right at the very bottom, and so they are again. David De Gea, who is in my free hit team at the moment, for once couldn't save United at Anfield and couldn't keep Norwich out either. And over the last 6 game weeks, minutes per point, 60 minutes per point, he's right down there with Pope. It still looks to be, if you're going to be wildcarding, the goalkeepers you go towards are Schmeichel in particular because he has the extra fixtures. But also on the free hit, it's probably going to be Mendy. And certainly Mendy looks a good option with the double this week, right?
Yeah, I guess so. The trouble is with Mendy is you've got so many good options in defence and attack. Alonso, James, Werner, Havertz, and Mount. It's hard to lose one of those Chelsea spots on him. I mean, the goalkeepers are just so difficult to predict those clean sheets. I mean, look at Schmeichel conceding in the last minute, like tonight. You've got, Pope and De Gea at the bottom of this list for minutes per point. It's at 60. I mean, that's so low. I mean, I like Dubravka, but obviously there's no double there. And if you're holding him and looking to bench boost in 36, and he plays Man City. So if you're going to be bringing him on the wild card, you're going to get that match where he's probably not going to get anything from. So keeper's a really, really tricky one. I don't particularly like him. I'd still go for Schmeichel, I think, but there's not much in it.
Yeah, you have Schmeichel for budget reasons, don't you? You don't waste money there. I think there is an argument for Mendy just simply because you can pretty much guarantee that he's going to play twice. I mean, he's not going to bring Kepa in, is he? He has done it before.
So dull, though, Luke.
He might do. He might play Kepa at Leeds, I think he's the one. He's the one player in the defence. You think, well, I'll get the 2 in 34 and I'll get the 2 in 36. Possibly.
Exactly. So that's the appeal, isn't it? But Foster's going to be well owned, I would have thought, during the double. He's going to be bench boosted in 36, isn't he? I don't expect anything from him, but they've got they've got pretty good fixtures in it, and he's the cheapest goalkeeper. So if he gets anything at all and you don't have him, he's probably going to hurt you.
I think it's Schmeichel, Foster, Martinez is in there because of the doubles as well.
Yeah.
And as we'll see later on, we went to one of the models in the community and they went Gaeta, I think.
I think Pickford's in there as well, just because of the double. Pickford's in there as well.
Gaeta top.
I'd love it if you both went back to Gaeta.
He's top, 14.4 minutes per point.
No chance.
But we can't go there after the nightmare that both Luke and I had while you were feasting on Ramsdale's points.
There's no rationale in this. This is just pure anger. I'm never having him near my team again.
Same as me and Mahrez. Even if he's nailed on for this Watford game, I still wouldn't bring him in.
Let's look at defenders then, because this is really interesting. Because right at the top, before tonight's game, this is defenders' last 6 game weeks for minutes per XGI non-penalty. There he is at the top, Lord Marcos, 183.5 minutes per XGI non-penalty. Was the defender showing up with the most attacking intent, most attacking promise over the last 6 game weeks. Only had 2 starts though over those last 6 game weeks, so it's a small sample of data. But I mean, you said at the top of the show, Luke, you consider Alonso's got to be an option because you don't see Salah as a threat to his start then.
Well, not after the way he played tonight. No. I mean, I think the main issue, if they go to a back 4, he's not particularly good in that. I don't see why they would do that, but this is Tuchel. He's been the hardest manager to read all season. I think he's got a chance simply because he's the best left wing back they've got. And it's not just his data over the season. He's in the top 5 or 6 for defenders, and he's been historically the best defender for expected goal involvement a lot of the time in sort of the top 3 over multiple seasons. We all know this, so it's not like it's just a flash in the pan with him. If he's on the pitch and he's playing in his favourite position, we all know what's possible. Even today, they lost 4-2. I saw him on the penalty spot for a chance and have a goal cleared off the line nearly, which is a regular occurrence. So I said it before, even if he gets one of the games at 5.5 million, it could be the one that he ends up getting 15 points on, and that's what you're putting your hat on. Unless you're going to go to a Man City defender, where then you can bring up other concerns of, am I 100% sure they'll play or whoever else. It's, who else do you really turn to? I think Alonso's a pretty nice option, to be honest.
I mean, do you just dismiss Reece James because of the centre back issue?
I don't dismiss him at all. I like him as well. I think he's better. His data is even better than Alonso's. It's obviously not been as long term because he's not been around as long, but he's just a little bit more expensive, isn't he? That's it. I don't get put off by anything else. I think head to head, I'd have Reece James. If you could tell me Reece James is at right wing back, for both the games, I'd have him above Alonso, no question. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not showing up on this last 6 data here, but if we go to just looking at the Chelsea defensive options over the season, and we see that this is where Reece James's superiority over the rest really shows. Minutes per chance created 39.1, minutes play cross 24.5. He's ahead of all the other Chelsea defenders in those two aspects, and then minutes per XGI non-penalty 221.6 compared to Alonso's 363.6 over the season. So over the season data, Reece James is out in front because he's played those significant games at right wing back, and I don't know if you've missed this, but he's been quite devastating at times. If you've been lucky enough to be on his points, not many of us were, but
he's been effective.
That's one thing I got right this season, was getting him in early. It actually worked for me. I actually got his good run, but because he's so heavily tilted toward goals rather than assists, even though his delivery is ridiculous as well, he's obviously he's more likely to get a goal. Outside, I suppose Chilwell and Alonso are reasonably close, but outside everyone else on that list, he's more tilted towards goals, isn't he, than virtually anyone in the league, even Trent, everyone. So
for us though, Luke, like we got on the right side of him a lot of the time. He's also a source of kind of massive frustration in the community because a lot of people have owned him and missed all these hauls.
Yes, absolutely.
Constant twos and ones.
Imagine the agony of that. When we do our retrospective, I'm going to look back at that, and I've got a feeling the hokey cokey I did with the Chelsea defenders to miss all their points for Rudiger, James, and Chilwell. I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have designed it that way. It's just uncanny. This shows Chilwell actually 54 minutes per shot in the box. It shows what an asset he was before the injury. The other thing that's significant, although it's not highlighted as the top rate, minutes per BPS or baseline BPS 5.4. Reece James is actually strongest for baseline BPS, right? And I think there was a tweet earlier in the week to say that even when he plays right centre back, his BPS is still strong. So he might not have the same attacking threat, but in terms of BPS, he could still deliver you bonus points if Chelsea win by a narrow margin and keep clean sheets. So I think Reece James is worth the outlay. It's just that suspicion that Alonso might get more games, right, over these doubles.
Well, one of the excellent things about him, though, is I don't think anyone was really expecting him to play this game against Arsenal. And I think it's only because of this tactical tweak to, as Tuchel said, I'm going to play him at right centre-back. It's easier for him. Less kind of demanding on his body and all that kind of stuff. That, although in some ways it takes him away from that right wing spot where he's obviously so effective at attacking, you're just going to get more games out of him. It's always the big concern with him. So I don't know. I just think he's going to play right wing back in most games. He's too. I think he's too important there. I mean, Azpilicueta just isn't anywhere near that level of. You're taking out such a massive attacking part of your team if you take James and put him at right centre back. I think he's going to tailor it to the opposition. I think he would have looked at Arsenal and thought, okay, there's quick players there. We probably need him in the centre. But I mean, Everton, coming up in a few weeks, it's okay. United's got Sancho against West Ham.
Well, let's not forget as well, Azpilicueta scored tonight from the right wing back position, and he put up an XG, I'm just looking here, of 0.32, which is pretty high. The position, the tactic that Chelsea put out, if you get that spot, it is goal. Like, there is no two ways about it on both sides of the pitch.
So with Reece James, you're getting someone who, 50% plays in that time. The other 50% will play in a centre-back role for a team with a good defence. So there's not really any drawbacks with him if you're taking away the lack of minutes.
Yeah, I guess it's the 6-3 versus Alonso's 5-5. I guess it's the extra money there. I think Alonso will only play wing-back, right? If he plays, he's going to be in a more attacking role than James. For some matches, maybe. But you're convinced he's going to play most of these remaining games in the wing-back role?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, look at the fixtures. I mean, it's West Ham. I think he plays that. I mean, who's he go up against if they're on the who's on the left for West Ham? Fornals? Is he the left sider? Because it's not Bowen, right? Bowen's on the right.
Yeah, so it's Fornals who can drift out there. They don't tend to play any left because they allow Creswell to get forward, don't they? So they don't have anyone hugging that touchline as such. But
so I think he'd be playing whoever's on the right if he's on the left side.
Yes, of course. So it would be Bowen, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, one-on-one defending, he's horrific. We saw that tonight against Saka. There's no two, and he was subbed off. Let's not forget. So it could happen in any game, and we've seen it this season.
My point is, though, that I think he tailors it to whoever he's going to be coming up against. And I think if there's a really strong left-sided attacker for the team he's playing, he's more likely to play at left centre-back because they're going to want his instincts.
You're talking about James here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is where we got confused.
Right, yeah.
No,
I
sorry,
thought-
you're talking about
And you
Alonso.
mean right centre back, not left centre back.
Right,
Yeah,
I thought you were saying Alonso was going to
Yeah,
change.
so
That's why I
was
was
I.
so confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I've got COVID. Come on. Give me a break.
Cut you some slack. So
I say
yeah,
Alonso at left centre back. Jesus.
I know
Christ.
that would be the heart attack.
That's a masterclass. That is.
Well, Salah's not been much better. I guess we could look at it like that. I think that James is probably worth the outlay, but Alonso's not far behind, and he's more of a punt, isn't he? And you never know. If in a position like mine, you probably favour Alonso on the wild card because he's going to be the least owned, and he could be just as explosive, and he's going to be playing wing back. There's a chance he can play wing back more than Reece James will. So
Is there
I can
an
see the
argument
appeal.
to ignore the defence entirely?
I think you get one, don't you?
But could you go for the spicy sort of Mounts, Havertz, Werner, triple Chelsea attack?
You were talking about Mendy a minute ago. You've changed your tune from a.
Not for me. I wouldn't be picking
You
it.
could do that. I mean, we're going to look at a wildcard team in a bit. You could do that, and even for the free hit, you could consider that. But I think looking at the 34 fixtures, I think there's at least one clean sheet in that, probably against United, right? So I think because the attacking intent shown by the wing backs, if you can get James or Alonso and they do play that role, you've got a good chance.
I still get Rudiger though. He's still a very
Yeah,
good
yeah.
option, isn't he? He's very solid, and he has got a goal threat. I mean, he shoots 500 times a game as well. So I know only one goes in, but
Yeah.
he's a decent threat in the penalty area as well. There's no doubt about it. He could outscore them all. So
Yeah, I mean, minutes per XG non-penalty over the last 6 game weeks, 4 starts, 679.2. So Rudiger is a downgrade on the goal threat. Thiago Silva certainly is, and obviously Silva, as we've seen recently, has not had the starts. He's had 4 in the last 6 game weeks. He was back in tonight, was he, Silva? What was the back line? Was it Christensen, Silva and
no, he came
James?
on at half time. So they were that bad.
Right, okay. So they've got... The thing is, the problem is that Tuchel's got the options there. He's got Chalobah, who's been off form, but probably could come back into the equation as well. So, as we've said, even Rudiger, for that Leeds game in 36, probably isn't nailed on for that game. So you might... If you're thinking of going to Chelsea defender and you're thinking Rudiger's a safer option, it might not be the case because you might still miss that 36. So in other words, it is probably worth going James and Alonso instead, because even though they're not a secure starter, that's the perception. They certainly have the greater attacking threat.
I like James, Alonso, and Havertz at the moment.
Right. That's what what you would do for the free.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
United defence hardly worth touching on here. Tellez was a popular target in the free hit, but only got the one game. Didn't play against Liverpool. Obviously Ranić has got the option to play Dalot or Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka played out on the left, didn't he, against Salah? He didn't do a bad job, even though Salah got the goals. He didn't track him, but who can play against Salah? Playing Wan-Bissaka out of position probably wasn't the cleverest idea, but obviously he considered him better than Tellez. And Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, these aren't really considerations, are they, for the double, as we've said, lads?
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's so many other defenders that I'd rather have. I mean, you look at Laporte, or they look at Cancelo. They're going to be playing Watford. You could double Man City defend. You're getting a couple of Liverpool players, Trent and Robertson. You just can't make any case for going with these defenders. I mean, even someone like Tellez. I mean, Tellez would have been the pick that I'd have made on the free hit for the double, and then he misses out with Wan-Bissaka and Dalot playing. I didn't see that coming. So. Just absolutely not. Wouldn't go anywhere near him.
I thought Dalot would play out on the left, but I just didn't see him.
I thought Dalot did play on the left.
No, I think Wan-Bissaka played out there against Salah, didn't he?
I think Dalot was out there. I think.
Was he? That's not what I saw in the game. I'm pretty sure Wan-Bissaka was up against Salah.
You're not normally wrong about these things.
Salah, okay. But yeah, Salah was out on the right. I'm pretty sure it was Wan-Bissaka up against him, which really surprised me because I knew Dalot could be a threat to Tellez, but I didn't think he'd swap it around like that. It's United assets, as we said. You'll hold them if you've got them for the double. You're not going to be bringing any in defensively. Maybe De Gea at a push.
I don't know. I still think there's an argument for it. Like you say, De Gea. It's a double at the end of the day, and they've got, is it 2 home games? I can't remember what it is now. I know it's 2 terrible home games, but it's two home. Have I made that up? I just need to get the fixtures up.
United have got Arsenal away and Chelsea at home.
Okay, it's away, yeah. I still think just because it's a double, yeah, you can still make a case for him. I'll
Sure.
die on this.
Really?
Well, who else are you going to pick? Yeah, I still think there's a slight case for having a double. I mean, they're shocking, and if McTominay and Fred aren't there, then yeah, I probably wouldn't be interested. But if somehow they're due back, then I might consider just having. I mean, David De Gea will rack up saves, won't he? I still think he's a good.
Yeah, I think De Gea is the one, right? De Gea is the one you would go. You wouldn't go a defender, I don't think. As you're shaking your head, you don't want to even go to De Gea.
Well, first I was just going to say that we're both right. They switched sides in the second half. Dalot and
Did
Wan-Bissaka.
they? Oh, sorry about that. I didn't notice that.
So I think it's nice. I think we're all right. So none of us look particularly stupid. Although none of us noticed that. So maybe we're
Why
all
did they
stupid.
do that?
Dalot definitely started at left wing back. I knew that. I didn't realise.
Why did they swap it at half time? I never spotted he did that. I guess they went to a back four, right? So he fought in a back four.
Because they're playing wing back. I don't know. I don't know what Rangnick. I don't understand Rangnick's tactics at all. It's very, very strange. I had something else I was going to say, but I forgot what it is now.
It's the COVID again. Let's look at midfielders, and this is where we touch on Havertz and Mount. Over the last 6 game weeks before tonight's game, Havertz was top at 84.9 for minutes per XGI non-penalty, ahead of Salah, 92.8, and then Jota, 99.6. And you look further down to 13th, there is a Bruno Guimaraes, 165 mins per XGI non-penalty. We'll talk about him versus the other Bruno in a minute. I'm sure Az will want to touch on that. But first of all, Havertz versus Mount. Mount's down in 19th for this. Last 6 game weeks, he started 5 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, and minutes per XGI non-penalty, 178.1. But Havertz halves that on 84.9. Where'd you go? Because Mount started tonight and Havertz was benched. Does that make Havertz a better option for the double now? Going to Luke first.
I'm not so sure. I think Mount's still got a chance of playing both. I think he could use. I mean, it's kind of like Ziyech. He's been using this front three, hasn't he? Really, until this game of Havertz creating the space up top, and then obviously using Werner and using Mount as almost inside forwards, a little bit closer to him, and it's been working really well. And it seems to me, at least, that Pulisic is the competition for Werner on that side. You've got Lukaku as the competition for Havertz, and you've got Ziyech as the competition for Mount. So he came on today, Ziyech is, so maybe it's a game. So yeah, in terms of you're looking at pure minutes, I guess most people would expect now that Lukaku's had a game and Havertz gets pure minutes. But I think the system, despite what this data shows, actually suits Werner and Mount quite a lot better, because Havertz seems to be the guy who's creating all the space for them. So I think I'd still be tempted to go with it. But yeah, tonight's changed it a bit, I can't lie. I think it's very close, and I don't think you can go particularly wrong with either of them, which is a bit of very fencing answer. I would actually just prefer Werner in general. I know he's obviously a different position, but I think of the 3 of them now, I actually think Werner's got the most upside. I think he's playing.
What a turnaround.
Well.
We'll get on him when we get to forwards. Yeah. Delia's in the chat saying, having Havertz for the past game weeks have been pure pain. As have you got any message of encouragement for people who own Havertz or are looking to get him in?
Well, I think the encouragement is what's on the screen. I mean, he's in the top 10 for minutes per touch in the box, minutes per shot in the box. 28.9 is really high. That's better than like Jota when he plays. Look at someone like Mane's 38.8. Mbomo and Zaha. These are players who like to have these shots and in and around the dangerous areas, and he's featuring really high on that. I think since Werner's come into the team, I've been more impressed with Mount, just from a purely like watching phase. And I think the fact that Werner just splits these defences open and Mount just making these runs through the middle, that's where he's been getting his goals from, and he's been really clinical lately. And I do still have some question marks around. Havertz is a clinical player, right? But I worry. I sense that Mount is going to get more chances than he will with the way the system's gone. But I do think with Havertz missing out tonight, that's the biggest boost. I think if you're going on a free hit, Havertz is number one player you have, and I think he's the best captain. He's the best captain shout this week for me.
If Jorginho doesn't play, remind me who's on penalties. Is it Mount?
It would probably be Mount, right? He took
when he
got the hat trick. When he got the hat trick against Norwich, he took one, but that might be just because he was on the hat trick. But Jorginho was off the pitch, so he was next.
So I think as Jorginho's kind of not favoured at the moment, that is something to bear in mind as well. Having a penalty taker over the double. I imagine Jorginho probably plays one of them, but that's just another string to his bow, I think, to add in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we'll get on to the Chelsea midfielders for the captaincy, of course, later on. But certainly the free hit, it is a tough choice, and maybe it is the option to go both Mount and Havertz and just go to one defender. Other players that you've highlighted here, you've highlighted the City midfielders, Mahrez and De Bruyne, and Foden. What have you got to say about them? Is this just picks for the free hit, or?
Well, yeah, I think if we're thinking about the free hit this week, you've got to back City, right? Because the home game against Watford, that could be a 5 or 6-0, like to them. It's just getting. This is the game before the Champions League. And as Luke said, this is, they've played their strongest squad tonight against Brighton. Can we determine who's going to start from that? I mean, Cancelo, you think is locked for that?
Well,
that
I don't know if
game?
you know, but Stones went off injured today as well.
Stones won't have injured, so that means Diaz surely comes in. It's going to be Diaz and Laporte at centre back. If Ake's got the knock as well, there's no other.
Yeah, they've only got 4 players at the moment.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Sterling hasn't played in this. I mean, Sterling, he could be the most explosive differential of them all. Against him. I mean, you might not captain him because you've got the Chelsea assets, but I think you can. If City only have 4 defenders, I think you go potentially Laporte, Cancelo, and take a punt on someone like Sterling. Yeah,
I mean, you'll see my free hit team proposed in a bit, but certainly I think if you are going to free hit into 34, you've got to take a risk on a City midfielder. It's just which one do you go for? Sterling did he come on tonight?
I'm not sure because I was doing this.
He didn't start.
If they made any subs.
I don't think he did.
And he did start the home.
He didn't come on.
He did start the home leg against Atletico, so it's possible he could be saved. But I mean, if I was picking anyone, I would go Sterling's the most likely to start the Watford game. You've got to think that Pep will rest players ahead of the Real game. So I would say that Sterling doesn't start that Real first leg and he'll play against Watford is my punt. That's what I go with.
I mean, Foden started the last 11.
Foden starts every game, basically.
Foden surely. I mean, what's the front three for the Real game, Luke?
For the Villarreal game? Oh,
Real game, yeah, not Villarreal.
I imagine it's very similar to the Brighton one and the team he played against Atletico. He likes to use that false 9 with the silver Kevin De Bruyne interchanging as it. He likes to use Mahrez in every Champions League game. He started 9 out of 10 Champions League games this season. Mahrez has started. The only one he didn't start was the dead rubber 5-0, and he still came on. So obviously Pep picks depending on the opponent. So unless there was a very specific reason that he wouldn't pick Mahrez, I think Mahrez is pretty much a lot for the Champions League team.
Yeah.
You're going to have the false 9 position there because that's what he's done in all of the big games. And again, I think he was using it again today to see how it works more than anything.
So that's Bernardo, right? And then Foden on the
Bernardo
left.
And De Bruyne interchanging between who's false 9 and who's in the middle. Yeah. And then it leaves the left open, which, yes, Grealish is there, but Foden's arguably his best player, isn't he? So he's going to play on the left. I would have thought it was a massive surprise he left him out versus Atletico. And then when he came on, he changed the game and he played him in the second leg. So
yeah,
I would imagine it's going to be the same front line as you saw today in the Champions League. So does that mean, does it change for Watford? Because, Pep, does he want momentum? Does he want to keep using it? I would have thought that, like you, Sterling, as the fact that he can also play in all 3 positions means that if he wants to give any one of them a change or whatever, he's always got a chance.
What I'm thinking as well.
So it's by no means guaranteed. And I think the fact that we've just seen, I mean, we don't know the injury updates, but you just nailed it there, that if they've only got 4 fit defenders, you can pretty much be fairly confident that you're going to get 2 defenders nailed in a game where you'd expect a clean sheet. And let's not forget, Cancelo's basically an attacker, isn't he? He's arguably a fantastic captain this week. He's got, I mean, if Zinchenko's, I don't know who's got injured actually. I think Zinchenko's still fit, right? I don't know if he went off injured, unless I get confused. He'll be at left back and Cancelo will be at right back. If it wasn't a double, I think Cancelo would be looked at as captain.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't a double.
So yeah, if the injuries help us out there, because there could have been some rotation there without the injuries, then you're looking at Laporte, Cancelo, and then you pick a midfielder, and I think Sterling is looking like a decent punt. But yeah, I mean, any of them, you could pick any one of those. I think probably outside Mahrez, just because we can be pretty sure he's going to play that other game.
Yeah.
And you might get lucky. That's what part of picking these City players is on these weeks. It always happens. For some reason this season, it's always, when the community's always looked at me to say, can you predict the Man City lineup? It's always come on a week like this where it's just before a Champions League game.
The focus is on you.
Yeah, I usually get it.
It's what people want, right?
I know.
They're going to be demanding. You took up the position, you took up the job, and now you've got to deliver on the tough weeks. I think this one of the reasons why I'm considering the free hit is this appeal of hitting one of the Man City midfielders, perhaps hitting Jota or Diaz when they start and one of Mane and Salah doesn't. I think it's a big factor behind the appeal of the free hit in 34 for me, because Watford is a game where, yes, Hodgson will roll up with defensive outlet, but if an early goal goes in, goal difference is a thing, right? City will want to win by a decent margin, I would have thought, given that they're in this neck-and-neck race with Liverpool. If they've got the opportunity to rest players but still score 4 or 5 goals, then they will probably push for that. And Sterling on his day, Yeah, he's let us down before. Could
Well,
be
also, if
devastating.
you assume that Mahrez isn't going to play that game, which yes, it's dangerous, then Sterling has taken quite a few penalties when Mahrez hasn't been on the pitch, especially ones.
Oh
he
yeah, he's
wins.
dreadful at them. He's dreadful at them.
He is, which could obviously be a negative, but yeah, De Bruyne did actually take one in the FA Cup versus Southampton, so there's arguably he's back on them. But I think Sterling's got a chance to be in there with penalties as well.
But you know, sometimes, right, when you win a penalty and your player takes it, there are some players where you think, I'd rather not have this because there's more chance of a minus than a plus. Sometimes it's like
no pay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well,
yeah, Sterling looks a nice punt this week, but if you go by the theory that Foden plays every single game from now to the end of the season, I mean that's what's been happening. But do we think that just continues? Because he's still arguably just the cheapest one that you could throw in there and do well. But out of all the games, I'd say that he might have a rest left. This might be the one, or might be. It probably still isn't, but it might be.
Okay, as talked to us about the Brunos, because obviously Gomes is there in 13th spot. You've got glowing praise for him, of course, the 3 goals in the 5 starts over the last 6 game weeks. But then Fernandes, who was 9th in this table only a week ago, which obviously prompted me to take the risk on him with the potential of the 2 doubles. 9th he was for minutes per XGI non-penalty. Those 2 appearances against Norwich and Liverpool, where I think he registered 0.25 XGI, have pushed him massively down this table down to 54th place. He's nowhere, is he?
I mean, we had to check the tables, didn't we?
Yeah, I had to check the data to make sure it's correct.
To make sure it's right, yeah. I mean, he's below Sissoko, for example, of Watford in terms of minutes per XGI non-penalty. So according to pure data, he'd be better off captaining him. I mean, it's embarrassing, really. I mean, the minutes per point of 37.5. You know, that's just really bad. I mean, there's I could pluck a load of players out of here, which you wouldn't believe are getting points faster than he is. So yeah, it's really concerning. I think the matches against Norwich and Liverpool would be even more concerning because he just didn't look he was getting forward at all. He was relying on hopeful balls over the top to try and make something happen. Is that system going to change given that United haven't got any midfield players? Are we going to see him at a false 9 maybe, or a bit further up, linking up with Ronaldo? Doesn't really look like it. So he's not someone I'd be looking to invest in for this double.
Even if you're a free hitting,
no way,
really,
no way. I'd go Ronaldo. He's back. Ronaldo's back in training. That's the story we get. That's the story we've got at the moment that he's back. I would be picking Ronaldo, and that would be it.
See, the dilemma I've got now is that I got rid of Salah for Bruno for the 2 doubles. I've surely got to play him. Even if I free hit, I've got to have him, haven't I? Because I'm almost waving the white flag, or am I just throwing more bad money after bad there by going with him in a free hit?
You keep him if you can see the signs that it's going to change for him, and I just don't see any positivity for owning him. I just United.
But remember, like you just say, only a couple of games ago he was right near the top.
Yeah,
so it's dependent on who you're playing, the position he's playing in, and it's the last 6.
But he still wasn't getting points. That's the problem. Even when his stats were decent, he wasn't getting points.
He was 30 minutes per point. He's now 37.5. So that hasn't changed that much.
1 assist in 6 starts for Bruno Fernandes. And that's when his stats are good.
Him. I'm just saying that if Mark's got him, it feels like you're going to free hit anyway, aren't you? So I suppose you can pick whoever. But you could also spin it the other way, where you say, okay, well if Ronaldo isn't going to be back in training, then he also gets penalties as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's tough games though. There's no denying that away to Arsenal and home to Chelsea is tough fixtures, especially where they're at right now. And like I say, if McTominay and Fred are out, Bruno Fernandes is going to have to do something in midfield because they don't really have any options. Pogba's also looks like he got injured as well, didn't he? So who are they going to play?
Yeah,
it's going to have to be him.
So Lingard will be in the more advanced role, and he'll be dropping back. It all looks as though I've got to just admit defeat and not have him in the free hit even, which is a really bitter pill to swallow. Before we move on to forwards, just a word on Martinelli, who was dropped to the bench. Do you think that's a short-term deal? Do you reckon Smith Rowe's back in favour now, or is it just the opposition, which is why Smith Rowe started? What's your advice for Martinelli holders?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking you, Az.
You're asking me. Oh, really tricky one. I mean, he's become a bit of a utility man, hasn't he? He was playing at left wing back, or came on at left wing back a little while ago. I don't know if Arteta really knows what to do with the kind of injuries they've got, and Partey being injured, and he switched to a back 3 today. It looked like, and Saka was at right wing back, and things like that. So I mean, it is a concern. I think the good news for Martinelli owners is, I think, Lacazette I think he's probably frozen out now. I mean, he's coming out saying he wants to go back to Lyon, how the door's always open, and Arteta being like, you've got to focus on Arteta falls out with a lot of his players, and I just can't see him being like, oh, don't worry, Alexander, I'll bring you back into the team.
But Nketiah's done well, right? So
that's it. So you'd think Nketiah's going to come in. Has he done enough, Nketiah, to start every game now between now and the end of the season? Everyone's still talking about Martinelli getting that chance up front. And I wonder if we might see that at some point. I think I'd hold him. I don't
think he plays up front. I think to the fact that they trained with Nikita up front and then they've played him Nikita up front, they still haven't used Martinelli. I mean, if they were ever going to do it, this was the time to do it.
And he's got the 2 goals today, so
yeah, I don't think that happens. And the fact that Smith Rowe and Martinelli have just continued to rotate in that position, and then Smith Rowe scored again today. A lot of Arsenal fans I know say, one in particular, he's always on it. He's saying that Arteta does follow the hot hand. He likes the player that's in form in that position, and Smith Rowe scored again, so he's looking dangerous, isn't it? Which is annoying because he looks like a fantastic player, and I'd love to have him at that price. It looks like potential gold, but yeah, he's just not starting games, is he? So that often, I don't think I'd particularly go there, to be honest. I think there's just better options.
I definitely wouldn't buy him, but it's a tricky one when you've got him.
Oh, you start
whether
him
to sell him.
Yeah, I mean, they've only got one game this week, right? And it's home to Man United. Does he play that one? I mean, I would have probably thought no, but...
And this is it. He's suddenly now not a... if you're doubling with him in 36 and you're playing the bench boost, he's now a player you think, well, I'm probably going to get one start from him now. It's depressing how these doubles evaporate with these kind of turning points in the season. You can often plan for all these doublers, and then obviously bit by bit they fall away. And Martinelli is one of those now. I think.
The sitter Saka missed against Southampton, that was from a Martinelli.
Yeah, he could have got an assist.
So if Martinelli gets the assist in that, are people less twitchy with him? I mean, it is tricky. I mean, he's a 5.3 million asset at the end of the day. I think you can ride with it, and
he's still going to play a part in both the games, isn't he? Even if he doesn't start, he will come on. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt there, and he can still affect the game. He was one of the highest XGI players in the league for a long time.
Yeah, at 5.3 you can afford to hold him. It's just disappointing because I was in a few weeks back. I was looking to bring him back in. I'm glad I didn't now because it does look as though we're going to struggle to get 2 out of him in the 36. Let's go to forwards and let's talk about Timo Werner because he is the poster boy for this episode. He's a player who we've been critical of in the past, certainly were last season. We all had him at the start of last season, or many people. I think he has like 35% ownership going in to game week 1. I captained him in game week 3, I think, at West Brom. And then he dropped off the cliff, really, in terms of ownership as his form dipped. He scored again tonight, and he's looked incredibly encouraging. The last 6 game weeks, he's top of the forwards with 106 minutes per XGI non-penalty. That probably only got better tonight. If you're free hitting, even if you're not, Werner's a target, right, Az?
Yeah. I said him last week, and everyone laughed at me. I mean, his conversion's 16.7, which is double, I think, when you showed the stats earlier, the Chelsea players. I think he's normally at like 9% or something. So he is massively overperforming his own terrible numbers. I mean, his 16% conversion isn't even in the top 10 players, in the league. So you look at Ronaldo there, 33%, Pukki's at 20%, Mateta's at 18%. So he's still lower than... He still needs a lot of chances to get goals. We know how wasteful he is. But I think he will continue to get chances, and I think the way Chelsea play, I think they're starting to learn how to get the most out of his pace, and Havertz I think is really key to unlocking him as well, because Havertz is such an intelligent player, the way he brings players back, and not like Lukaku when Lukaku wants to kind of bomb forward. The fact Havertz is so good at linking up his players, I think massively boosts Werner. There's a really good system, I think, between all those different attacking players now at the moment, and I don't think Chelsea's just going to abandon that. I think Werner's minutes are pretty safe. And then you look at the forwards, there's no forwards I want. There's Kane, there's maybe Ronaldo. That's probably it. So if you've got Lacazette, you've got the easiest transfer in the world this week.
Yeah.
If you can afford Lacazette to Werner, if you've held on to him, that's an easy one.
I mean, here's his data this season compared to last without tonight's game. He's only scored 3 goals before tonight. It's obviously gone up to 4. But if you look at his conversion rate is up slightly. It was 7.6 last season. It's 9.4 for the season. But he's up for minutes per touch in the box from 11.1. From 13.8 last season. Minutes per shot is up. Minutes per shot in the box is up. Minutes per big chance is slightly up. Minutes per XGI non-penalty, 143.7 compared to 177.0. So it has been an improvement, Luke, compared to last season. It's gradual. It hasn't been that kind of big breakout season for him, but it does look as though things are turning for him now, right?
Absolutely. Again, he can't be a terrible player and be as good as he was in Germany. Put up the numbers that he did. His stats still maintain good, and then obviously last season he just didn't come through on his XG, and it can happen to anyone, can't it? Especially when they move leagues. And I'm not saying he's going to turn into a world beater, but the system they're using at the moment, and just as touched on it there, the sheer dearth of other options, the fact that Chelsea are games in a double, he is one of the best forwards you can pick right now. It's as simple as that. And they seem to have found this system which is helping him, being a little bit more inside than out. And even tonight he looked a real threat from what I saw. Laid a couple of passes on again. His ability to just knock the ball very quickly, left peg, and then just pin it across for a tap in, essentially just across the 6-yard box, is really up there as well. He keeps doing it. Yeah, I think he's a really good pick. I mean, you can make a case for Nikita now after tonight, I think, especially on bench boost in 36 at that price if he stays in the team. I think that's an option. But him, Werner, Mateta got benched again tonight. He's another one that people were talking about. Watkins you can maybe look at because he'll be useful in 37.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably missing someone here because you haven't got the strikers.
No, because I wanted
not really though.
Yeah, there's not many, is there? That's the point.
I'll go back to the total in a minute, but I wanted to bring these graphics up that you sent me from Daniel Katona, which illustrates a recent role change with Werner tucking more inside. Right, these are his passes received. Map of his passes received. One against Newcastle and Brentford, the lower one against Madrid and Southampton. You can talk us through that, Luke.
Well, it's obviously an extremely small data sample, but it's showing basically the system that he's used and when he's been successful, and it showed where does Werner receive the ball and how has that developed. Obviously the games versus Real Madrid and Southampton, the areas that are highlighted there in the inside positions as they call them, or inside half or whatever, that's where when he receives the ball there he's more threatening, and that's where I'm talking about that quadrant of 19.4 and then into the penalty area. When he's sort of in that area, he looks devastating, and previously he was obviously receiving it a lot wider. So, it seems to have been a tactical tweak that Tuchel's made, and I think this little combo of him, Mount and Havertz is working. So, very short term, but this is the thing that we're all out here trying to, get an edge over people, aren't we? And if we're trying to beat the models and stuff like that, you've got to sometimes bring into it tactical changes to try and get an edge. And I don't think there's much to lose, is there, at the moment, by going him compared to the other forwards? It's just, do you want to use a Chelsea spot on him? That's the issue. But, yeah.
I think of all the explosive Chelsea options, though, he could easily get you 3 points, but he could get 18 points against United and West Ham. Like he could eat both of those defenses
at the moment,
up.
It does feel like, it feels like if he played like he did against the Southampton game, I don't think they're going to push up that high necessarily. But yeah, he's a player that can smash a hole in. He definitely can, right? 100%.
Yeah, and United and West Ham are defences at the moment, as we'll see when we get to the captains, and we've seen already with the team data. They're going to give him opportunities, or they're going to give Chelsea opportunities in a game which now they probably are going to be more motivated to win, given they've lost tonight. So it's definitely interesting developments, and like you say, there is a lack of striker options. We're going to look at some wildcard teams, a couple of wildcard teams now. The first one I'm going to bring up is the wildcard team, which I went to FBL Review and did a quick transfer suggestion. Suggest to me a wildcard team if I'm bench boosting in 36, and it threw up this. I'll just go through it now. It's Mendy in goal. It's a back five this week of Trent, Robertson, Reece James, Cancelo and Laporte. It's a midfield three of Mount with the captaincy, Saka, Salah, and a front two of Marteta and Pukki. And then on the bench you've got Schmeichel, obviously with the bench boost in mind in 36, Coutinho, Watkins and Gordon. Again, players are all double going forward. So this team gives you 12 double game weekers in 36, and that is with Marteta, Cancelo and Laporte on the bench. And of course, Cancelo and Laporte could have a double in 36 or 37. So you could have basically 14 doublers in game week 36 if you're playing the bench boost with this team. It gives you 5 double game weekers in 37, which could go up to 7, of course, if the two City players have their double then. So it's pretty strong. I mean, I looked at this and thought, obviously I can afford this because it looked at my budget, it looked at my team. I tried to improve on this and it's kind of difficult. The only thing you can do, which is what I've done and which I'm going to show you in a minute, is kind of play more short term and go the likes of Werner and maybe Alonso. And also you could swap Mount for Havertz in this. So this is a team that I put together based on that, which I think is perhaps has a few risks in it. It's Schmeichel in goal, Trent, Robertson, Alonso, Cancelo, Laporte, Bruno Fernandes, the extra double for 34. Odegaard, because I can't afford Saka. Then it's Mount, Werner on Arteta up front, and then on the bench, Foster, Pukki, Coutinho and Gordon. This still gives me 12 double game weekers in 36 for the bench boost. It only gives me 4 in 37. It could go up to 6 if City double. So it gives me an extra double game weeker in 34. It gives me Werner. It gives me Alonso, which are kind of perhaps more risky, more chance of return. The significant thing here is it gives me money to go Fernandes to Son, Werner to Kane in 35. So it allowed me to move to those two players, which arguably gives me a stronger lineup for 36 if you want Son and Kane. But going back to the models case, obviously you can use your transfers here, although you're very unlikely to move Salah out, as we've discussed. This model team, as we're finding with FPL Review and other models out there, really strong, right, Luke?
Absolutely. It's very, very tough to beat it. And why would you? Arguably, you just go with it, don't you? That's what that's what we're advocating. Yeah.
Well, are we? Because
I mean, I'm not.
As certainly isn't, is he?
I said they're
okay. I'm sure we said. Sure we said we. I'm sure we were talking for you there, Aslu.
No, I'd never include us in that conversation. It's just a very nice team. I don't really have anything to say. I mean, what more can be said? It's got pretty much the perfect back
I'm coming
five.
to you, Az, because I know you're going to want to talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the picks in midfield are fantastic. You've obviously got Villa lying in waiting. The best keeper, Pukki's arguably that was the one I did miss from the list that I was going through. Obviously in great form, he's great price, and he's also got a very nice double. It's a struggle to find a hole in it.
It is.
If you want to be different, then there are obviously avenues like you showed. Yeah. You can go for the Sterlings and the Werners and the stuff like that, but they inherently carry more risk, and that's why they don't feature in the model.
Yeah, I think if you're wildcarding and you're going for a top 10k finish, this is very close to the team you would probably go with, because there's very few risks here. They're all certain picks at the back. You've got Salah and Saka and Mount, who are the safest picks in midfield, and you've got the 3 strikers who aren't great but give you that double game week coverage. It's a really strong line. You've got the 2 keepers for 36, of course, as well. But as you're just against this kind of leading with analytics, you've just come off the Bruno G haul, so you're all on a high in terms of short-termism. But do you think you can go against this? And
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that just because the model's done it, it's a bad team and we shouldn't listen to it. I mean, we do a whole podcast about stats and everything, and I do believe in stats. But I look at this team and I look at the front line of Mateta, Pukki, and Watkins, and I think, come on, that's not a good front. You've got no Spurs players in there. What? Because Spurs have lost to Brighton, they're suddenly not even a team. They've got a double in 36.
Yeah.
You're gonna go into that with no Kane or Son. That looks like an absolute disaster class. I think there's too much money in defence. There's not enough money at attack, and I think you've got to have a Spurs player. So I don't like that team at all, and I like your one even less.
because I had to look at it and think, what can I do to within my budget as well. I think many people have had more options so they've got more team value, and I was just trying to be a bit more short-termist and go for the extra double in 34. But also I've got a load of, I think there's like 4 million in the bank to allow me to go to Kane and Son, right? Which is easy to do in my team there, preparing you for 36 with Kane and Son. Whereas if you go back to this team, the only way you could go Kane and Son with this team, which is what the model suggests, is you'd have to sell Salah. You couldn't get Kane and Son without doing that, and you're not going to do that. So this is a team to go with if you're really playing safe and you think that Spurs are going to fade, but if you still have faith in Spurs, you can't go with this really. You've got to save money somewhere, which you'd either have to flush money out of the defence and you'd lose probably one of Robertson and certainly go James to Alonso, or you've got to not have Salah and spread the cash elsewhere. It's difficult, isn't it, to get those heavy hitters.
It is, but the tricky thing is the bench boost, right? Because how much you're putting a lot of budget into just trying to get players in that 36 bench boost. So that's why you're leading with like Mateta, Pukki, and Watkins, who aren't particularly good strikers, but they're taking a lot of budget out because you need them for that. For that bench boost.
And you could
36.
go Greenwood and Gelhardt like General has done, and then you could probably get Son in midfield for a Casino.
Well, this is it. It's geared towards a bench boost, isn't it? Obviously, you could do versions or not. I think the Spurs versus Leicester game is the interesting one, right? Because that's the game, correct me if I'm wrong, where Leicester have got Europe either side. Am I wrong in saying that?
I'll bring it up and we'll have a look.
I think it is, which is in
yes, it is.
35.
Yeah, 35. They got Roma at home in the first leg in 30 at the end of 34, and then they go away to Roma after Spurs. So you've got to think that's a great
that's-
fixture for Spurs, yeah.
That's the one I'd be most worried about. I mean, they've got Liverpool after that, which is pretty bad. Home to Burnley, away to Norwich, so it's a great 2 to end it as well. But let's not forget, the model may suggest to bring the players in or whatever and change depending on your budget and who you've, whether you've got bench boosts and stuff or not. So, I mean, there's no denying Spurs are still great options. It's just trying to maximise the fixtures and stuff, isn't it?
But it's interesting what you say about the bench boost, and we've done this every season. You hold the bench boost and you try and play it in the double, and then you start making transfer decisions to build for that bench boost to give yourself a stronger bench at the cost of missing out on some players elsewhere. And that's the problem with it. It's a really, I hate every season. I hate it more and more.
Absolutely, I know. I mean, my bench at the moment is Ramsdale, Roberts, Amate, and Hwang. Right, and I've still got the bench boost to play.
So
when the hell
just going
am
to
I
burn
gonna-
it for absolute style.
Well, you're going to
points.
have to, aren't you?
Well, I kind of don't.
Just
really...
don't use it as and finish
Well,
top
don't
1k
use it.
just to give it the big FU to the chip. I'd
I
love
mean,
that.
I nearly used it this week just to get rid of it, and I would have had 5 points. And I kind of thought that wouldn't be that bad.
Well, this again was a very good reason why I think a lot of people did wildcard at the tail and follow that pattern of using the bench boost, because it made sense, because you had a lot of cheap players who had some good fixtures and you could just get it done and then focus on your team for the rest of it. And yes, we got the worst outcome possible in terms of the triple captain for Salah. No one didn't think that would happen. It still, in terms of the planning it out logically, it kind of made sense structurally from that to the end of the season. So that's why people did it. It wasn't that they didn't think Salah would go big. I think everyone probably captained him, even if they didn't triple captain him, right? So, yeah, there was some merit in it, I think, and that was one of the angles, just having those cheaper players with good fixtures that you could later just forget it. Because honestly, since that chip's gone out of my mind, I find it so much easier now to plan from now to the end of the season, just not worrying about it. And I could eat my words, because in 36 the bench boost could go massive. There's a load of good games there, absolutely, but. I just prefer to focus on the 11 because I'm having enough trouble with that as it is, let alone 15.
So if Luke, if you had the wild card, the bench boost now, would you build the wild card with 36 in mind and then probably have to go without one of Son and Kane or even both? Or would you go really cheap on the bench as you would normally, forget the bench boost and try and get one of Son and Kane in? Because you could with that lineup, if you didn't have Pookie and Marteta, and you perhaps downgraded Coutinho, you could get Son in there for Coutinho, I reckon, if you save some money.
Yeah, Coutinho's a great option. Again, it depends if you've got the free hit as well, right? Because you want to use that for probably in 37 to get Coutinho in. I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, they've got good games. You could argue. I'd want Son in there. I'd want Son and Salah, I think, if I could help it. Just structurally, again, Kane makes a lot of sense because he's a forward, but I think Son and Salah as the two premium combo is probably just.
So you'd sacrifice a big bench boost or potential big bench boost to get Son. Is probably
I think I would, for example, having a Ramsey over a Coutinho, or not he's probably the best captain that week, but somewhere I'd find somewhere where you could maybe look. I mean, even just going Alonso, right? He is cheap over a Mount, could end up giving you the money, or having a dead striker. I think is pretty much a dead. I mean, you could look at Geldhart or something in that week and just. I know it's probably not optimum to bench boost with someone like that in your team, but if he comes on for 1 or 2 points, is that going to be much worse than most of the time when you have your bench boost? As long as it enables you to have some other premium hitters, maybe not.
Okay, well, we're going to look at another chip lineup at the end when I show my team, because I'm going to show a free hit team that I could probably end up playing. I think I'm 90% certain to play. Let's look at predictions. Az, do you want to talk about more? So go ahead.
I do. We just have a quick update. Apparently, there might be an injury to Mason Mount.
Oh, really?
That Thomas Tuchel said. So basically, everything we've said in this podcast is redundant.
Well, we were veering towards
Havertz and Werner. There you go. Even better options.
I don't like it when it's narrowed like that, right? Because then everyone will just do that. I really would prefer it that there was lots of options. I hate it when that happens because then everyone will just go Havertz in midfield, won't they? It's kind of frustrating.
They will now. Will now on the wild card, and they certainly will on the free hit. Yeah. And if they're. I guess if Mount is injured, does it make Havertz more likely to play 2 in 36? Possibly. I guess it might do as well. Right. So, yeah. Well, that's an interesting development. We've got to track over the team news over the next day or two. Predictions. Let's see where we are at the moment. So 300 matches played. As you're on 156 correct outcomes. I might have closed it tonight though with that Arsenal result on 144. 52% for you, which is over what we achieved last season. I think I got 50. You got under 50 just. I'm just under 50 on 48. Correct scores on 4 ahead, 31-27. And clean sheets on 1 ahead, 62-61. So very close. I'm probably not going to beat you with this either. Let's look at our predictions briefly.
I think it's a good season for us, though. I keep saying it. I'm happy. 50%, around 10% correct scores.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting that we're tracking very close to what we did last season as well, 50%, which is we've got to be pleased with. Okay, quickly, let's go through the game week fixtures for game week 34 and some of our predictions. We start with Arsenal, Man United. Luke and I have both gone for a 2-1 win for Arsenal off the back of tonight. Obviously, we didn't know tonight's score when we made this prediction, but as you've gone 2-2. So you fancy 2 goals from United here. So Bruno,
hang on a minute. Yeah, you were slagging off United, and now you're putting them down for a draw. What's going on here?
Arsenal just still look a bit ropey, right? The trouble is I don't think Fernandes will be involved. I think it's going to be Ronaldo again who's going to steal the show. I just don't like where Fernandes is playing. So I think even if United get 2, I'd be surprised if Fernandes was involved in them at the moment.
No, that's fair comment. But yeah, it's a turn up that you're predicting a draw there. Leicester Villa, you've gone 2-1 away win for Villa. You've also gone 2-1 for Villa. I've gone for the 1-1 draw. I don't think there's too much to discuss there. I mean, two teams with certainly Leicester got their eye on Europe. Villa really seeing out the season. I mean, what can we expect from? I mean, Coutinho, we talked about being a big pick for 36 and 37 because he has the 2 doubles. Do we expect? I mean, he's looking at him. He's probably the best captain for 37. Looking at the fixtures he's got. What do you expect from Villa for the run-in, Luke?
It's tricky to answer, isn't it? I hope that they perform because I think we're going to have them regardless of what I say here. They've got good games and he's a very good player, so you just hope he turns it on, and he's shown he can do that, and he's shown he can do that over a number of seasons. But I equally wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do much because such is the nature of how they've performed so far this season. You just
very useful that, Luke.
I know, but
I think
what do you want me to say? I'm going to have him in my team. Do I have absolute confidence he's going to smash it? No, but I'll still have him there.
Yeah.
What else do you want from me?
We'll probably have Cash, and we might have Watkins as well. Certainly, anyone who's free hitting, he's probably going to load up on Villa for the fixtures they've got, because the fixtures are so good. If we look at 37, I play the
fixtures. I mean, you look at Man United.
Palace and Burnley at home, right? So
yeah, I mean they scored 3 against Norwich, and they got tanked versus Liverpool. I know it's not going to happen every time, but the fixtures do matter.
Yeah.
And therefore, I'll have.
You're both predicting a win in this week away at Leicester. City Watford, you've gone the 4-0 as. I've gone 2-0. Luke's gone 3-0. Little to say there, really. What was the final score against Brighton tonight?
3-0.
3-0, so they saw them off quite easily. Right, so.
Sorry, Dad. He predicted a draw. He did. He was very wrong about that.
Can't always be right, Chris. Never mind. You weren't about Brentford either, really. Let's face it. We'll get to them in a minute.
In my dad's defence, when Brentford signed Ericsson, because someone else asked me this earlier, when Brentford signed Ericsson, he said they'll be okay now. So he did change his mind with that. He's a big Ericsson fan.
I had to stop myself from saying bold fraud there. I don't know if your dad is bold or not. But
not yet. And he'll be listening, and he won't appreciate it.
Yeah, he won't appreciate it. He'll be in the audience. He'll be commenting in a minute. I'm going to watch out for
Mr.
that.
Phillips.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was going to say, right. Norwich, Newcastle, we've all gone... No, we haven't all gone away win. As you've gone 2-1 Newcastle, I've gone 2-0. Luke, you've gone for the 1-1. Still some fight left in Norwich for Luke, but Newcastle on the up still. Did they win tonight?
They did, 1-0.
They did.
1-0.
They got the clean sheet, annoyingly. I just think Newcastle are a very good home side, aren't they? And yes, they've been a decent side, but away from home, I give Norwich a chance. And the aforementioned Brentford at home to Spurs, we've all backed an away win low. You've gone for the 1-0 as have I. Luke, you've gone for the 2-1. So is this a game for Kane and Son? I mean, I was debating this because you kind of think the counter-attack against Brentford could be on. Certainly Brentford early season were very cavalier, if you remember that Liverpool game, but I don't think it's an easy one for them, is it?
No, I mean, I think the Brighton game you've got to look as a bit of a blip, I guess. I mean, Brighton were excellent in that match. I saw the lineup and I tweeted being like, "Oh my god, I don't even know who's playing where, and we haven't got a striker and all this kind of stuff." But Potter pulls his out the bag every now and then with these kind of. I think he just confuses everyone so much. No one knows what's going on, but. The players for Brighton aren't. They've got really well drilled, really well disciplined. Basuma was excellent, and Mwepu's fantastic. It just doesn't really work. So I don't think that suddenly makes Spurs like a bad option. They played Brentford. They won 2-0 back in game week 14. So that was when Brentford was starting to kind of, I don't know, not be as good as they were kind of early in the season. But I've been really impressed with Brentford. I think that they've been great. They've been grinding out wins again, looking a lot more solid. I don't think this is going to be a big score for Spurs.
Narrow win then, and not in the captaincy hunt maybe. Brighton Southampton 1-1 draw for Az and myself. Luke, you've gone the 1-0 Brighton win. Probably not too much to discuss there. Burnley Wolves, another, look at this, like 3 goals between the three of us. You've gone 1-0 away win for Wolves, as has Luke. I've gone Burnley win. I'm going Wout Weghorst with the winner again, and for the comeback
not there
is
anymore,
on.
Mark. Every week is the 1-0 Burnley for Mark with the Dyche redemption story.
Well,
He's gone. Get over it.
I know. I can't believe it. Can you? I couldn't believe that sacking, to be honest. I mean, they don't have anyone ready to step in.
Chris Wilder's coming, they reckon.
They reckon he's coming in, do they?
Really?
Wow. Well,
that's really going from...
That would explain Middlesbrough's drop-off as well, because they have fallen off a cliff in terms of their form in the Championship. So maybe there has been communication.
Is that an upgrade?
He's a good manager, I think. Yeah. He's a very effective tactical manager. I like him a lot. And he will get them out of the Championship if they do go down, I think. Right, so I think
it's that Dwight McNeil at left wing back, is it now? And
Centre
right wing back.
Centre backs. Imagine Tarkowski and me running forward. They're going to be...
That's a good point. Overlapping, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Not Tarkowski. I always say Tarkowski like he's a New York cop. Tarkowski. Burnley Wolves, we've got down for 3 goals between us. 1-0 to Az to Wolves, 1-0 to Luke to Wolves, and 1-0 Burnley to me. Chelsea West Ham, you've gone 3-0 Az. Oof.
Yeah, comfortable. I mean, that was before tonight. I was expecting more so to beat Arsenal comfortably. So yeah, I got that very wrong. I just don't have much faith in, as I said earlier, I don't have much faith in West Ham in the Premier League at the moment. I think they're still playing a strong team, which is interesting. Still playing the likes of Bowen and Antonio, just cannot get a rest. But they're losing games and drawing games, which you'd expect them to do better in. So I think Chelsea will have a reaction and win this one.
I've gone 2-1. And then the Liverpool-Everton, it's a landslide victory for Az and Luke, 3-0. And I've gone the 2-0. Probably not too much to say about that.
They're the worst away team in the league,
Everton.
And Liverpool are so good at home. I mean, it really would be a miracle if Everton can even...
Yeah. And again, this is the key to the free hit to me, as you'll see... I think there's the chance that Jota will play. Right, Firmino might start, but I think Jota will play. And if it is going to be an easy win for Liverpool, you've got to think there's something in it for him. I've only gone 2-0, but you've gone 3. Palace Leeds, you've gone the away win here, as Luke and I have gone 2-0 and 2-1. You fancy Leeds to kick on still?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been too impressed with Palace really lately. They've been struggling a little bit as well. I think the FA Cup final, semi-final, obviously losing that takes it out of them a little bit. Mateta didn't start in that. Didn't start again tonight. He's obviously a concern for people who have invested in him. So I think maybe Palace is just on a little bit of a slide at the moment, whereas I think Leeds have had a long break now because obviously they haven't played this week. That's more time for the manager to instill some tactics and get things going, and I think they'll just have a bit too much for them. But Palace are still a good side, don't get me wrong, so it should be an interesting game.
And finally, Man United Chelsea, we're only seeing this one way. Az has gone 2-0 Chelsea, I've gone 3-1, and Luke has gone 2-0. Not too much to say about that. I think we've said it's a good double game week for Chelsea. I think we're tipping them for about 5 or 6 goals, right, over the 2 games.
I just want to add that I did all these predictions even pre-seeing Man United playing Liverpool, so it's just the faith in the fact that I thought Chelsea were a better team. Obviously, we didn't have them from tonight as well, and there's the injuries that are going to affect both that game. That game there could be heavily changed depending on who comes back for both teams there, couldn't it, for Man United and Chelsea?
Yeah, true.
I still think Chelsea are probably the favourites for the game, don't get me wrong, but if Chelsea got all their players back and Man United haven't, then God help them. And I was going to say vice versa, but that's a lie.
Okay, let's look at the captaincy. Captain Matrix, this is where we plot the captains over the final game weeks, right up to 38. And as you see, Salah's name is prominent. He is obviously a contender for game week 34, which we'll talk about in a second. But also going forward, 35, he's got Newcastle away. 36, he's got Spurs at home and Villa away. He's got the double and probably will be heavily captained in that. And then final day at home to Wolves. If Liverpool need to win, you've got to think Salah's going to be a popular captain, although there is many, many options there. I am not going to go with Salah captain at all from now to the end of the season because I think that's a policy I decided on. Hence, that's why I sold him. I could pay big time for that. But looking at this, I think I've got options in those weeks, particularly if I go back to Son and have the Son Kane double up from 35 onwards, which is what...
So who would you go in 36?
That is the big question because Spurs have got difficult games. So that is
Trent,
a difficult one.
Before, right?
Trent is there with Spurs at home, Villa away. I probably would, or if I've got Jota, and I think Jota's going to start both games, which is unlikely.
You've got a sofa in that shed, Mark.
No, I've got a massive beanbag which just about covers my ears, so right. I think I can hide behind that. It'll be fine. Yeah, it's not going to be pleasant, but I think, I just decided that seeing that Salah's going to be so heavily owned, his effective ownership is going to be high. If I'm going to get in the top 100k, I've got to push. It could then be with a rank outside the top 200k, but I've got a choice. I have finish 120k and have Salah, or try and push into the top 100k without him. I think I've got to do that to make it interesting, right? To save some fun for the season. Is going without Salah fun? That is debatable. Let's look at the captaincy for this week. And of course, Salah is top of all the data. If you look at the season data and even the last 6 game weeks, he's prominent. He's top for minutes per big chance and minutes per extra and on penalty over the season, next to other contenders for this week. And these contenders include Ronaldo, Werner, Kane, Son, Mount, Havertz, Bruno, at a push, De Bruyne, Reece James and Joao Cancelo. Salah is, the data suggests over the season, by far the strongest, but he doesn't have the double. And are we all about a double? Do you have to captain a double game week player, Luke?
I don't think, not this week. I don't think you do, because Chelsea's double's good. If you could tell me now the player you're going to pick from Chelsea is going to play 180 minutes, then I'd say yes, you captain them. But that's the problem, isn't it? We don't know who will for definite. The thing with Salah is, though, you argued maybe he might even get a rest in this one. Is there a chance he comes off early? So suddenly, are you looking at 70 minutes of Salah versus 120?
Yeah, I think he does start, but I think he definitely could be curtailed.
Right.
But, he'll miss 15 minutes maybe. But then again, he did score his second goal in the last 5, didn't he? So it is a factor.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I somehow get some confidence that one of my Chelsea players, I say one of my Chelsea players, I've only got James at the moment, is going to play all the minutes, then I'll be very tempted to do it because it makes sense, I think. But Salah is right there. And it will probably end up on him. I think the alternative would be Alonso. Like I say, I think if I can, I haven't seen the game, a lot of the game at the end of it.
It's not even on my list here.
Do it, Luke. Do it.
I think Alonso, over 2 if he's going to play, is the kind of upside pick that I would kind of like. I think that could work well. I mean, against Man United, if the team's like that, I feel like he could get something in their game if he plays it.
Well, if we look at the lower table, Havertz is top for minutes per shot on penalty over the last 6 game weeks. Minutes per point, 9.9. Very, very strong contender for the captaincy, particularly if Mount is injured and out of the equation, because Mount was discussed as perhaps the strongest contender, being that he's most secure in terms of starts. But if Mount has got the injury, it's Havertz, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you asked, should we always captain double game week player, and the answer's not always yes. I mean, if you went with Salah this week, you were happy, but equally, I think when you've got a good team like Chelsea with a good looking double, then I think you should be looking to captain one of them. I think Havertz is going to be the easiest person to get for a lot of people. Probably you could probably get him for a -4. I imagine most teams can. If Mount has got a bit of an injury, Reece James is going to be at right centre back, or we're not sure if he's going to play both. Still a little bit. I mean, the fact that Tuchel's even said about him having to play at right centre back indicates he's not completely fine from this injury, or he is having his minutes managed. Yeah,
because he mentioned the endurance and stamina point, didn't he?
Yeah. So maybe Alonso is the greatest bit. My issue is, when I'm looking at this, I really don't mind the Werner pick as a captain shout. I just don't hate it.
Yeah,
I think
if you tell me he gets double games, 180 is a very appealing pick.
He is going to terrorise those 2 defences, I think, and the conversion is always the worry with him, but I think he plays both. Why wouldn't he? He's barely played this season.
Apparently, you've been trolled by this whole Mount injury, by the way.
Yeah, all the comments are saying there's no injury for Mount, so I don't know what that was about.
No,
so Mount is still very much in the conversation, isn't he? I think the models anyway have Salah and Mount about equal at the moment, so it depends on the minutes. So I think there's an argument to go.
I think Havertz with the miss of the game, I think he's the number one safe, good option to go for.
Given that he didn't start tonight,
exactly, and then I think Werner's Werner or Alonso are the kind of really exciting
the flair picks.
Yeah,
and the reason why we're talking it up is if we look at the defensive data and we look at the last 6 matches, West Ham and Manchester United are in the top 3 in terms of the worst defences on show out of the candidates' opponents. West Ham have mins per XG conceded non-penalty 52.3, Man United 59.7. So Chelsea have got 2 defence. They're up against 2 defences, which over the last 6 have been particularly generous, and that is why we're endorsing going in on the Chelsea attack, and probably, unless you want to play safe with Salah, go in with a Chelsea attacker as your captain. So a Chelsea attacker over a defender is what we're saying then, right?
I still think I'm such a fan of the position that can get you massive ups. No one can get they could get a Hall Werner, they could do, but the wing backs can get ridiculous hauls.
they can get the clean sheet.
And if it's
the
wing
bonus
back, it's
points.
only Alonso, isn't it?
Well, is it? You
Is
could
it?
get lucky. You could get James.
Yeah.
I mean, when he switched to right wing back, he looked very threatening again.
It's why I like. I know I've said it a few times. It's why I like the free hit this week because I like the idea of you getting one Chelsea player and there's a bit of a lottery between who's going to get points between them. I think if you go for three, unless Chelsea lose both games 1-0, then it doesn't matter at all. But I think there's a good chance that one of these players gets a really, really good score. And if you've got three, you've got a better chance of hitting it than if you've got one.
Put the captaincy on the right one.
Well, that's it.
Exactly.
It comes down to the one or two players again in the double game, with no doubt about it, as to which ones you're on. I think me and Mark are coming from the avenue of our rank as well, right? If you sat anywhere good, then obviously you just go. You go boring.
If you're as, it's Salah all day.
It's Salah, Havertz, Mount, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably. And if you're where me and Mark are, then maybe you look at one of James or Alonso because the opportunities are running out. It's as simple as that. There's only 2 weeks left.
But I want to push up, right? I want to push up into the top 100. So I'm not content with being.
Depends on what a lot of people would be.
Let's look at your team.
I like that.
Tell us what you're going to do. So talk us through your team for the podcast lister first of all, Az.
I just got to wait for the screen to update. You're supposed to stall.
I will stall you. It's Dubravka in goal first of all at the moment. You got Dubravka and Ramsdale. Dubravka and Ramsdale. I said it right. I just didn't say it right in between. By the way, we've said 3 different pronunciations of Nketiah tonight. I'm sure it's Nketiah. You've gone Nketiah, and then Luke has gone Nikita like he's some kind of Elton John fan. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, go on.
I've always thought it was Nketiah, so if I've said anything else...
It is Nketiah. It is Nketiah. I'm pretty sure it is.
Dubravka in goal. Talk us through it, Az.
Yes. Good stalling, Mark. Good
there you go.
Well, my team at the moment, I mean, it doesn't look particularly like it needs a free hit, right? It's Dubravka in goal, Trent, Robertson, Cancelo. Doesn't get much better than that. Salah, Saka, Barnes, Kulusevski, Gomez, Kane, and Adams. So I don't hate it. I mean, obviously Adams is potentially a bit of a problem if Broja plays again and he's kind of been frozen out. But my sense is that he comes back into the side. Barnes scored today. He's been rubbish lately, but I can move him to Havertz, I can move him to Havertz basically for a free if I wanted to, and that gets me that kind of captain option. And then the rest of my team looks pretty good. But if I free hitted, I could go triple Chelsea and go triple City and just target those 2 games. Really, and that's where I kind of see the upside of it, because I could take out Saka, Kulusevski, Bruno, Adams, and just target those a good team with a good double and the City fixtures.
Yeah, and we've said that the Spurs game at Brentford's not easy, right? We don't expect a big score there. So you're torn at the moment. You were 90% yesterday. You're more like 70 now.
Yeah, I've gone down a little bit. I'm probably about 70% now. Because I was looking at 36, and I've only got 8 doublers for 36. I have got to think about this bloody bench.
I'm just looking at your bench. Roberts, Amity and Wang. It's like you couldn't have designed to have a worse bench. I mean, you struggle.
I think people told him that at the time as well, but somehow he still got away with it.
Well, Wang in game week 37 has got Norwich.
Yeah, but...
Maybe that's the...
Even when he plays, he doesn't get much, but he's not likely to be on the pitch, I wouldn't have thought, because you've got to think Jimenez back, Podence might be fit, they got Neto... They got Trincao, who's actually playing a bit. I just don't see Van getting it.
Have Wolves scored more than 1 goal in a game this season? I can't remember.
We never predict them to.
It's not Wang.
No. But that bench is it's about the only thing I am laughing at your team, because the rest of it and your season has been excellent, of course. So you're about 70% on the bench boost. That's fair enough. And the captaincy, if you don't bench boost, is on Salah, is it?
No, the bench. If I don't free hit, I'll bring in Havertz and captain him.
Right.
For Barnes.
Yeah.
And, I look at this team and I don't think I would advise anyone else to free hit it, but I just do see the upside of targeting that Chelsea and those City games. So
lots of people agreeing with non-free hit. James Harding points out, of course, Chelsea have got to score 8 for Havertz to get any points, basically. So bear that in mind. But extreme outcomes is what we'd expect if you're banking on any player like Havertz. I guess you'll get Havertz in. Chelsea will score 7 or 8 goals over the 2 games. He'll get nothing, and Salah will get another hat trick. Is basically what this season.
He's been good to me, Havertz. I've only owned him for 2 weeks, and he did well in both of those. So he's my boy. He's a good lad. I haven't had that pain. That pain really does.
No, you have.
Like
you don't have to tell me that you've avoided the pain all season. I think that's pretty clear. Let's go to Luke's team next. Talk us through it, Luke, from start to front. There will be a delay, but I can start you off because you've got Pope in goal, and you've got Cancelo at the moment. Is down with your armband. So talk us through the team. Pope in goal, Cancelo, and then James, Trent, Robertson, right? It's a strong defence.
Yeah, my issue is obviously the fact that
like I alluded to, I've only got one double game week player at the moment in James, and is he even going to be a double game week player? Well, we don't know. So very much have to look at bringing a Chelsea player in, and it's not easy with the way my team's structured. I mean, there's an obvious route to free up funds, which is selling Kane for Werner, but that doesn't fill me with joy because I kind of want Kane for the reasons you just said. We've said that the fixtures are still good and stuff, and the other ways I can do it are I can do Pope down to Foster, which, you know, it's no great shakes really. I can play Forster or Foster and I get him for the double as well in 36. So I don't mind that, and that frees up enough funds for me to either go Doherty to Alonso, or to bring in Mount for Kulusevski. And I don't know which one of those I would go. I could do both, but then that would require another hit to bring Broja down to Gelhardt, which would bring it to minus 12.
You're looking at minus 12.
Yeah, so I could go... You know, do I go Alonso for minus 4?
Why are you even pretending that you're not going to do the minus 4? Because the minus 12. Obviously, you're going to do the minus 12. This
is what we've come to expect from you, Luke. Right?
Well, you know, there's pressure on me now.
You can free hit, though. Why can't you free hit? You got that, haven't you?
I have got the free hit, yeah. But again, I don't think I need to necessarily use it this week. I think my team is okay. I think it's fine. I've got double Man City and stuff. It just doesn't feel right.
Does Foden play, though? Does Foden play the Watford game?
This is a good point. It may change. But for me, I still kind of want that information of where that Man City double goes just to affect my decisions. And I could still free hit. I could still do it. But I think if I can just get double Chelsea and a minus 4, it's not that bad. I think the rest of the team's fine. And that would mean I could put Mateta on the bench, you know, as a result of that. So it's either Alonso or Mount probably, but I could do the minus 12 and go the whole hog. We'll see.
So are you enamoured with the 37 free hit? Is that it? Are you so
I think so, because it's not that I'm so in love with it. It's just that the players that aren't in my team right now have got the good games in 37. You know, you've got the Villa and the Everton. I only have Ramsey.
The Villa and the Everton. Yeah, but
the Villa and the Everton.
The thing is, what are you looking at? What Villa and Everton? You're looking at Gordon. That's Everton covered, and then
Richarlison. He'll come in. He'll get me a brace, just like late riser.
You're not going to have that variance, though, are you, Luke? Let's face it. So, it could happen, but I just don't see it.
I don't think anyone runs that hot. It's impossible.
Apparently they do. I wouldn't bank on Richarlison getting 2 penalties again in a game, but I don't know. I look at the 37, and again, it's one of the reasons I'm looking at the free hit now. Is I just don't know what I do in it, because there's good fixtures again for my players, and the players I'm bringing in are lesser team players. They are the Villa, they are Leicester, and they are Everton, which I don't know if I can find players who play twice or what I want. So I'm just surprised you're not free hitting as well. I really am. So,
well, maybe I will, but I don't know. I'm still kind of happy, and I'm not settled on it yet. So
okay. Maybe I can convince you. This is my team at the moment. My solid line. It's actually looking all right for this week. Pope in goal, Trent, Robertson, Shaw at Norwich, Cancelo home to Watford. I've got Bruno for the doubles. That's one double game week player. Then Saka, Kulusevski, Coutinho away at Leicester, Kane and Brentford, Weghorst at home to Wolves. Bench is nowhere though, so he's out the team. Podent's injured, I think, even though he's not flagged. Broja away at Brighton probably won't play, so my bench is, I have no backup at all, and I only have one double game week, and it's a Manchester United player, and as we've said, you probably don't want a Manchester United player if you can have a double game week player. So even though this looks all right, and I could do Coutinho out to Havertz or Coutinho out to Mount, I kind of want Coutinho because he's got Norwich next, and then he's got 2 doubles, right? So Coutinho's not a player that's easily lost, and that's the only way I could bring in a Chelsea midfielder easily. Or I could go Saiz to Alonso and not have a Chelsea midfielder. But at this point in the season, I think I've got to continue to roll the dice, right? So I'm kind of looking at a potential free hit that could look something like this. At the moment, okay, all right, De Gea in goal, bear with me. Robertson, Alonso, Cancelo, Laporte, so that's the 2 Man City midfielders. Then Fernandes, who I'd keep probably because I went him over Salah for the doubles. Zaha, Mount, Jota and Sterling, and then Werner up front. The captaincy could go anywhere. It could be Havertz in for Mount. That's probably the closest call. But I look at this and think I could put the captaincy on Werner. I've got Jota and Sterling, who I expect to start against teams that should concede chances. They're strong differentials, right, if they play. I don't think many will have them. Also, it gets me Alonso, as we've talked about, as being an option. I've got a weak bench, of course, but I've got Marteta, but I could change that up to any player to give me some cover if Marteta's not going to get back in the team. So I'm kind of liking this because I don't like the 37 free hit. Comments, go to you first, Az. What do you think?
you've got to have Salah over Fernandes.
You think it is?
There's no way.
Just to back it in.
Or you go for Ronaldo. I just don't believe. I keep banging this drum. I just don't believe that Fernandes can match Salah in any game week. I think Ronaldo potentially can. I think he's a much better United
I don't want him
option.
either. I'll probably look elsewhere for that. I'll probably go. I don't know. I might even go Diaz or something like that. I'm not going to go to Salah. I don't think, because I do think he will get. He'll probably get an hour. He'll probably get 70 minutes. I don't think he'll get the 90 like he did this time. And I don't really want to go to Salah. The whole point of the free hit is I've got to try and do something different, and Salah's going to be high EO.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I'm at the point where I don't care about damage now in terms of rank going down. I'm trying to play for a big game week to get the rank up, and if I take damage, then fair enough.
I just can't sit here with my credibility and say Fernandes over
your
Salah.
renewed credibility of being in the top
last
1K.
season. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's fair enough. I get it.
But I think the rest of the team is bang on. I really like. Okay, De Gea aside, I really like the rest of the team, and it would be very similar to the way I'd go with it as well.
Yeah, the reason I've gone Robertson is, of course, if he doesn't play, Simicast comes in, whereas
I like that.
You go Trent, then Gomez could start, and so it gives me that backup. Right? So that's
that.
the reason of that.
Yep.
I think the players I could change is possibly De Gea, certainly Fernandes, and Mount could go to Havertz. But I think this will be the nucleus of what I do. So, and we talked about it. I think it's the right move for me. I should have played it in 33.
I'd do it with your team, for sure. I think it's easier for you to do it than it is for Luke and I, because you've got players like Coutinho in and Weghorst who, you've got okay games coming up, but not necessarily for this week. So I would definitely do it in your situation. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks for that.
Simicast first on the bench though. Because otherwise, if Robertson doesn't,
yes, that's true.
Mateta will come in.
Yeah, of course. I've got. Will I have Mateta? I'm surprised now he's dropped out of favour. He was certainly the cheap striker option. I know. I wasn't convinced in the first place when people were getting on board. That'll probably have to be Pookie.
What about Mane, by the way? You think he comes out of the team?
Yeah,
you've not got him.
I think one of Diaz, Mane, and Salah is going to get rested, and I think it's most likely to be one of Diaz or Mane, right? Because you've said tonight you think Salah's going to play every game.
Oh no, I agree. I just wondered why.
Jota's got to play. I can't see it not being Jota starting, because
Jota will play.
Because I think Mane, Diaz, and Salah are the three for Europe, as we saw in the previous tie. They're the first choice, and Jota's got to come in surely up front.
So if you're not interested if you're not interested in Salah for obvious reasons, do you not go Mane over Fernandes, and then if he doesn't play,
have a sub? Maybe. I look at it, or I don't have two Man City midfielders and I go for another defenders and go for a Man City midfielder.
That just looks like a very easy win, doesn't it? Though, as we discussed, it's just you can be pretty sure, given the injuries those two are going to play, and it looks like the easiest clean sheet they'll ever have, which is famous last words. But
it is tricky. Yeah, I don't really want to go Fernandes or Ronaldo, but I might have to. But we'll see. The jury is out. We'll see what I do.
Can you not allow one more go with Salah on the free hit, Mark? Just one more.
Against Everton, the worst team in the league, away from home.
Yeah, I guess it does protect the EO, doesn't it? But it goes against the principle of what I said I'd do to my, But I might have to, because there just isn't an easy option there, is there? Because I do think the three Man City are the best options. The three Chelsea are probably the best options. And then if you don't go Bruno, where else do you go then with that money? And Salah is probably going to be the one that damages me if I don't have him, of course. Right? And I do think out of Mane, Diaz and Salah's probably the most likely to start. So it kind of talks me into it, doesn't it? But it is really eating humble pie.
I think with the Fernandes thing, if you get the information that they've still got the same injuries in midfield, then you pretty much know he's playing in that either role. So that'll be him out, won't it?
That's got to change. I totally agree with you. Black Box Leagues to round up on. Eslam Tahar is 25th in the world going into tonight's games. Wow. I don't know how he's done tonight, but he had 78 before tonight's matches. He was 2-3-6-4. He is up for the FPL title this season. Noah Aberg, I think he's 32nd, not far behind, representing Sweden with his Flunky Guys team, which is the most Swedish name for a team I've ever heard. He is giving chase. And then Lucas Komorowski, apologies for that, is in third on 2-3-5. So it's pretty close. 2-3-5-4 in fourth, Sebastian Farrier. 2-3-5-6, it's Lucas in third. 2-3-6-2, Noah. 2-3-6-4, Eslam. The Black Box League is up for grabs. Then in The Apprentice, I'm just about holding Natalie off. She's on 274. I'm on 286. I don't know what she's done tonight. I haven't looked at that yet. I will go and look at those points in a moment. Az is going to look at it now, just in case he can embarrass me live on the stream, and I'll never miss that opportunity.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I've got to try and keep her at bay.
Oh, she's had a decent night tonight.
Oh, thanks for that.
She's had a share come in, a Cancelo, a Saka captain, and a Mount.
She's got Saka captain. She's probably gone above me then.
She's on 71 now.
Oh my word! Wow. Okay, we'll just end the stream there. Thank you very much.
168, and you, Mark, are 165. You're just ahead by 3,000 places.
Oh, dearie me, it's going to be close. Well played, Natty. You've got to give her a round of applause for her first season and how well she's done. And just so happens I've done badly this season, so it'll be a fitting end to The Apprentice if she beats me. And it'll be another humiliation, like losing Az is better than Dad League to Az.
You're
second to that, are you?
Yep.
Oh dearie me, the humiliation continues. Let's talk about Fest. That'll cheer me up because Az can't go, and he can't go anywhere now because he's got COVID. I do feel sorry for you. When you're 19th stag do of the year and you can't go, but commiserations to that. But you can kind of look at Twitter and watch the tweets coming in while we're at Fest. And my thoughts will be with you, Az, of course. But Fest is taking place on Friday. Tickets still available for 20 quid. Come and meet some of the members of the community. Lots of community members there. Kelly's hosting with James Richardson as well, so a chance to meet the guys from the official show. A lot of fun with the quiz, and you get a free drink as well thrown in. Luke, you can't make it either, can you? Because you're away as well, so you're working.
Unfortunately, yeah, sucks.
Well, I'll be there, and come and say hello if you see me about there in Waterloo. I said 20 quid tickets still going, and then we'll end on Green Arrow and I must say, thanks to FPL Greece for sending me this T-shirt, and he sent me a Trent Alexander-Arnold mug as well to remind me of that game week where we did the live feed during the Spurs Liverpool game. Do you remember that?
I do.
Remember those days when I was a higher rank than you? Do you remember that?
I try to blank those out, to be honest.
Yeah, that does seem a long time ago.
We definitely need another stream or another match today before the season ends. We need to work out when that's going to be.
We do indeed. Yeah, let's go out for match of the day stream. It should be for my free hit really, but I can't do it this weekend. But yeah, we should book
be a
one
good
in.
weekend for me. I'll be just at
you
home.
will be at home. Yeah, I do feel sorry for you missing out on the Fest, and now you're.
I know, it sucks, right?
It does, yeah. But more time to purr over the stats and try and plot a top 500 finish. So in the FBL challenge, 1,446 mils donated now. It's been a great success, hasn't it?
Absolutely, really, really good stats. Like I said last week, but if we can hit the 2,000 mil share, that'd be absolutely incredible. So this money goes to emergency aid in Ukraine. Mark and I are donating a £5 every time we get a green arrow all season. You can all get involved in that. You can donate as little as 65p, and that money goes straight to the charity to help them out. And yeah, so it's a really nice idea set up by FPL Greece to involve the FPL community in charitable work. So get involved, links in the description below. Yes, and thanks so much FPL Greece for my delivery this week. That cheered me up no end, and I need cheering up this season, that's for sure. Thanks again, Luke, for joining us. We are a trio, probably to the end of the season. There's only 1 week where you can't make it, is that right? I think
that's right. I'll try my best if you have me. Yeah. Obviously, feel free to kick me off if I keep getting Foden goals and stuff like that, but I wouldn't expect it.
Well, you are beating me now, so you aren't fulfilling the contract terms at all. So I'm going to have to explore that clause. But yeah, it's not what I wanted. But it's always a pleasure to have you on. And I guess it's just over to you, Az, for the smash and likes now to round off. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight live. I know obviously there's football going on and it's quite late and all that kind of stuff, but over 1,000 watching a game, which is fantastic. So make sure you like the stream and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening on the podcast version, drop us a comment as well. We'd like to hear from all of those on whatever platform you're listening to. But for now, that's it from me. It is. And people are saying match of the day challenge, game week 38, Natalie and myself going for the... what do you reckon? That sounds amazing. People are tuning in for that, weren't they? They will. But the only problem is the game week 38 that's the best day of the season. That's my favourite day of the year. I don't think I can... wait until the end. But surely it only gets better if Natalie beats me. That only makes the day better for you, doesn't it? I kind of want to see it live. Just the live humiliation is.
Although
Yeah.
then again, you going on the video and everyone knows you've already lost to her. You have to watch it scene by scene.
Tune in 74.
Yeah, all right. It's a good night for me.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.